Compare cheap van insurance quotes that really do cut the mustard at mustard.co.uk. Details online, authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Luker's Jaguar. Buy your next car or book your MOT, service or repair online. It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard. The Scottish football gets set to hand out the season's first piece of silverware. Cup finals are always big. Meetings of Rangers and Celtic are always huge. Add them both together and the stakes go through the roof. The ribbons will either be blue or green by the end of the day, so strap yourself in for a blockbuster afternoon. We're live at Hampden. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me is Gordon Dalziel and Mark Wilson.
What a day we've got in store. We're here at Hampden, the sun is shining, the fans are packing into the stadium, the first piece of silverware ready to be handed out, nothing between the sides from Christmas onwards. Well, something's got to give this afternoon.
Well, it's quiet just now, Gordon, but I'm sure the volume will be ramped up come kick-off time. Looking out onto this pitch, it was well criticised. No excuses today. It's absolutely perfect. Sun shining, and I think we're in for something special this afternoon.
The scene is set, the type of fixture that brings Scottish football to a standstill. A whole week of build-up on Clyde One Super Scoreboard. So many predictions, so much bragging rights. Who is going to take it all come the end of the afternoon? We're here live at Hampden, and back in the warmth of the Clyde One studio is Jim Duffy and Hugh Keevins.
It is the game like no other. It is the game where reputations are made or tarnished. The day when, if Rangers win, their fans will say a shift in power is on the way. The day when, if Celtic win, their fans will say Ange Postecoglou's domination of Scottish football is confirmed. The margins could not be any finer. The margin for error, non-existent. Today, you're either a hero or a villain. The game that will separate one from the other, Jim Duffy, has the potential to be an epic.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to this, and as the guy said, it's a perfect day for football. But the Rangers fans, displayed their banner the other week there at Displeasure. They're saying 2 trophies in 11 years isn't enough, and it isn't for a club like Rangers. So I think there's that wee bit extra pressure on Rangers today. I think with Celtic having that 9-point advantage, the league, the league's all but wrapped up for them. So for me, I think that there is more pressure on them, even though both teams know the demands of each set of supporters means that they have to be successful, they have to win silverware, and this is the first opportunity to gain it this season.
Mark Wilson, you watched many of these as a fan. You then played in many of these sides meet 4, 5, 6. You even met 7 times, I think, in one season. It's only been a few weeks since the last meeting, and yet still the build-up so intense, wall-to-wall coverage everywhere you look this week. The importance never diminishes. If anything, it grows, and you can sense this week just how much anticipation there is ahead of this one.
Oh, of course. I mean, I said yesterday, when there's a piece of silverware at the end of these games, it just ramps up the significance of it. Again, I was there on both sides when I was lucky enough to go up and lift the trophy and see that end of Hampden emptying, but I also had to stand there and watch Rangers lift the trophy, and there's nothing harder than that in your Celtic career. So those players will know what's at stake today, and the quality on the pitch from both sides. I mean, the lead up to this game, the results in the weeks leading up to it, puts in place what should be a terrific spectacle this afternoon.
Yeah, Gordon, you look at the recent meetings, and Celtic managed to dish out a sore one to Rangers earlier on this season. Then, of course, Michael Beale came in, and it was a share of the spoils. There's always something riding on them, but as Mark alluded to earlier, you add a trophy to the end of this, and Hugh, as always, summed it up so appropriately. By the end of the afternoon, Celtic fans will either be telling everyone that that's Rangers put back in their place and Michael Beale is no match for Ange Postecoglou, or the Rangers fans will be hoping that this is the start of them recovering from what was a poor start to the season that saw them potentially surrender the league title.
Yeah, I think the last game at Ibrox, Gordon, gave Rangers fans a lot of hope under Michael Beale. I thought it was an evenly balanced game. Celtic started pretty well. Rangers got into a 2-1 lead and Celtic finished strongly. But that was a league, and I think both teams come out happy. I think that's the reason both sets of supporters come here full of confidence. Both teams are just grinding out result after result. Celtic playing some attractive football, but it's all about results, and Rangers doing that. But it's different this afternoon. It's a cup final. We've all played in them. We know how special they are. We know that, that one mistake, that one bad judgment could cost your team the cup, whatever it may be. I think we'll get bags of goals today. I didn't think the game at Ibrox was very entertaining, Gordon. I've got to say, I thought there was at times when both sets of players gave the ball away needlessly. I don't think that'll happen today. And as I said, and I touched on it earlier, I'm looking at this pitch. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, one of the important build-up factors in a week like this is the constant debate about who should play and who shouldn't play. Will there be debutants in the fixture? Will old favourites return? Will there be any surprise calls? Well, all of those questions are about to be answered by Gabriel, who has the teams.
Yes, big team news coming out of the Hampden dressing rooms, Gordon, and it's positive for both sides. For Rangers, John Lundstram and Malik Tillman have been deemed fit enough to start. Whilst Kyogo Furuhashi has survived his injury scare, he leads the line for Celtic. Let's start with the Gers, though. Interestingly, it's the exact same 11 that manager Michael Beale picked for the 2-2 draw against Celtic back on the 2nd of January at Ibrox. He makes two changes to the side that beat Livingston 3-0 last weekend. Lundstram and Tillman come back in, as I said. New signings Nicholas Raskin and Todd Cantwell drop to the bench. Kemal Roof has not made the squad despite his goal last weekend. The team is as follows: 4-3-3 as ever. Alan McGregor in goal. A back four of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davis and Borna Barisic. Glenn Kamara and John Lundstram will be at the base of midfield with Malik Tillman just in front of them. Fashion Sakala will play off the right, Ryan Kent off the left and Alfredo Morelos up top. The substitutes for the Gers today: McLaughlin, Cholak, Hadji, Wright, Jack, Cantwell, Raskin, Arfield and Devine. Well, what about the defending champions Celtic? Ange Postecoglou names what he believes is his full strength 11. As I said, Kyogo has been past fit to start. He's one of two changes from last weekend's demolition of Aberdeen, along with Aaron Moy, who comes back in. O'Reilly and Owa out. They are amongst the substitutes. It is 4-3-3 for the Hoops as well. Joe Hart in goal. A back four of Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Stallfelt and Greg Taylor. Captain Callum McGregor is in the middle of the park with Reo Hatate and Aaron Moy. Jota will play on one wing, Dazan Maida on the other, and Kyogo leads the line. Their substitutes are Bain, Haksabanovic, Abada, Kobayashi, Turnbull, Iwata, O'Reilly and Ralston. A quick reminder of the officials here at Hampden Park today. The referee is Nick Walsh, whilst John Beaton is on the VAR.
Well, Gordon Dalziel, what do you make of that? I said it earlier on, we spend all week arguing, debating, discussing who's going to get the nod, who's not. Start with that Rangers team. What jumps out for you?
Yeah, I'll let Mark deal with Celtic team. I'm looking at the Rangers team. I'm very surprised. I look at Michael Beale, his two signings in January, Raskin and Cantwell, don't start, Gordon. I'm surprised with that. I thought Raskin would be in the middle part, but he's went for the tried and tested. Lundstram, Kamara, they know this game. Sakala caused Celtic so many problems last time on the flanks. The usual back four, usual goalkeeper. But I think the big one for Rangers fans coming on to Hampden this afternoon is Tillman. There's a question mark about him. Tillman's a fan's favourite. He's a Michael Beale favourite. He's starting to produce the goods. He's still a young lad. I'll be interested to see how he handles this occasion, but he brings so much to that Rangers side going forward. Yeah,
Mark Wilson, the consensus, if there's ever such a thing in Scottish football during the week, was that there was one issue to sort out in the Celtic team, maybe two. Most of the debate centred around, would it be Moy, would it be O'Reilly, and then for some people there was a question mark because yes, Dazan Maida's been very good, but Liel Abada's got a knack of causing Rangers and Borna Barisic problems. Is that the two main issues for you?
Yeah, I think so, but I think everyone coming along here to Hampden, if they had to write down their team, honestly write it down, they probably would have come up with this one. A team that's in form, a team that's trusted by Ange Postecoglou. Spoke about Aaron Moy and how good he's been since the World Cup. Hugely important player for Celtic, ever since that game at Easter Road, really, where he scores a couple of goals, and he's never stopped since then. I totally get the debate with Abada. I keep saying that I feel bad for him sometimes, that he always misses out. However, that's what happens when you're playing in a team jam-packed full of quality. So Maeda is in there, sort of two-prong. he carries a threat obviously going forward. His pace in behind will stretch this game at Hampden, but his work rate going back to nullify James Tavernier is crucial in this game. James Tavernier, you only have to look through his amount of assists that he supplies Morelos and the front men at Rangers. That's to be stopped. So Ange Postecoglou has that in his head. Moy certainly can control the midfield. The rest picked themselves for me.
Hugh Keevins, a week spent dealing with questions about who should play and who shouldn't, and now you have your answers. What do you make of them?
I go back to my point that I think it's potentially an epic in the making. I do take Gordon Dalziel's point that it's odd you make two big signings in the January window in Raskin and Cantwell and play neither. However, if Michael Beale is playing the team that drew 2-2 with Celtic, that's not a coincidence, because he believes in them. Sloppy defending late on allowed Kyogo to score an equaliser at Ibrox, and that was a great result for Celtic in terms of the league title race. But I think this is the side that Michael Beale believes can get some joy out of Celtic. Celtic at Hampden under Ange Postecoglou can be strange. They lost the Scottish Cup semi-final when they were heavily tipped to take advantage of Rangers being tired. They struggled against Kilmarnock in the semi-final until deep into the time added on, when the substitute Giacomakis eventually got the second goal that got them over the line. Last season, when they played St Johnstone, it was all a bit of a struggle at Hampden until James Forrest came up with a belated goal. Celtic are dominant, absolutely dominant. Everybody is fit and well. The football is pleasing on the eye. But sometimes at Hampden, they do not reproduce the form that they do at Celtic Park. That's the job in front of Ange Postecoglou today.
Jim Duffy, what about yourself? You look through those team lines, what stands out?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of wee things, Gordon, that I thought, perhaps Michael Beale might go with a kind of, more, not say rigid formation, but more like a 4-2-3-1 with Kamara and Lundstram sitting and allowing Tillman to play a little bit more advanced. And as Gordon had said, Sakala doing really well last time, looking to catch, exploit the spaces that Taylor leave, because he does narrow in, and Kent giving him a little bit more freedom. So I think that they have to do that. I think if Rangers just matched up, Tillman is not the greatest defender, as you say. He's a terrifically talented young player, but I think that Celtic's movement and quality in midfield is better. So I think there has to be a little bit more security from Rangers in those aspects. I think from Celtic, the only I thought possible change he might have made was O'Reilly staying in the team as opposed to Moy, although Moy's form's been great. But other than that, I think both teams, most supporters would have went for that. But I think it'll be looking at the squads and the starting 11s, they're very, very open. But there are so many issues and so many individual battles to look at. Mark mentioned Maeda against James Tavernier. I think we saw a couple of times at Ibrox in particular, Maeda's definitely got the pace on Tavernier, and I think Jota sometimes spooks Barisic. So I personally think Celtic have got a little bit more quality going forward. As you mentioned, maybe at Hampden, listen, it's technically a away game, and at Celtic Park how quickly the ball boys throw things on, how quickly they get the game started. That can't happen quite at the same level at Hampden, because it has to be the same for both teams. So the pace and the tempo drops a fraction, and that does help the opposition, there's no doubt about that. So Rangers can take advantage of that. They're not going to be caught out the same way they did a couple of times at Celtic Park.
Scottish football never pleases everyone. Gordon Dalziel, it's impossible. I do, if I was to make a prediction, the Celtic fans inside the stadium, I don't think there are any real complaints about that team. I think they would be pretty much on board with it. On the other side, I think the Rangers fans perhaps largely. I do wonder if there would be a bit of surprise, a bit of disappointment amongst the Rangers fans at the exclusion of Nicholas Raskin. Not just because he's new, you can take that side of it, about playing new signings and what sort of statement it makes if you bring them in and leave them on the bench. But quite simply, they've been really impressed with what they've seen from him so far, and the skill set that he brought to the team. I feel like most Rangers fans turning up we're hoping to see him in that team today.
Well, I've got to be honest with you, Gordon. All week I've been saying that he's a 100% starter. I think this game today, and where I think Celtic are brilliant in the middle part, it's tailor-made for him. I think the lad's got everything in his locker to get in and handle this situation, a cup final. My big question mark, who was going to play beside him? You know, Lundstrom obviously an injury doubt, Jack was an injury doubt, Kamara had played last week. But I was very surprised when I seen the Rangers side. Now I understand a little bit about Cantwell because you had that dilemma, Cantwell or Tillman. I think just now Tillman's in terrific form, fully confident. There's no doubt he's going to go with Sakala and Kent in the wide areas and Morelos up top. But I am a bit surprised about Raskin not being in there. I thought that's what he was brought in for, these sort of games. But Michael Beale's went with Lundstrom, Kamara. We'll just know if it's going to work.
Mark, will we ever know for sure? Lundstrom, Tillman, Jack were all injury doubts earlier in the week. That may just be perfectly true, and they recovered towards the end of the week. There might have been a bit of mind games in there, as can sometimes be the case. Maybe it doesn't matter. They're all involved. Yeah. You have to assume that they are 100% fit if they've been picked to feature. Obviously, two of them start and one of them is on the bench.
Yeah, of course. I did say that last week. Michael Beale would know that he had enough in his squad to get through the Livingston game unscathed, the way Rangers were playing, and it's proved true. And gave the three guys enough time to recover, or just even a rest week, and that's been the case. Now, as the game wears on, we'll get a better glimpse if there is injuries being carried or it was just a bit of mind games. But I'm with Daz. I'm surprised that Raskin isn't in there. You know, the pursuit of Raskin was lengthy, and he's been training with the team for a while now. We've seen him on a couple of occasions and he looks impressive at the base of that midfield. On a big pitch like this, you need someone with a bit of composure, and maybe him not experiencing the fixture is something that you need. Just coming in, fresh set of eyes, just composed, and he gets on with his job. So that was a surprise, especially if those guys were carrying injuries. To then put them in ahead of a guy who's playing pretty well, yeah, that's a surprise.
That said, Jim Duffy, we bang on pretty much every week about the importance of the size of the squads and the strength and depth, and the fact that you can make 5 substitutions, of course. So when you look through both benches, it's perfectly possible that there's some big characters on there who could make a big impact this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's how Celtic managed to get the point at Ibrox recently with the strength and depth of the squad, because Rangers were in control of the game. Celtic made substitution, bringing on top class players, and I think that's something that Rangers had lacked a little bit, that strength and depth. But with the likes of Raskin and Cantwell and Kolach and guys like that on the bench now, you know, Michael Beale does have the option. So if the game is evenly poised at the latter stages, he's not weakening his team anymore. As the guys have said, he's bringing on top class players, so his squad has definitely improved over the last few months, particularly since the introduction of those two players, in particular Cantwell and Raskin. So I think as a manager, yeah, you put your starting 11 out, but I think that the old cliche of my best starting 11, I think it's pretty much gone now, Gordon, for most teams, you know, at the top level now, because they have such a strong squad that you can pretty much change 4 or 5 players now, and there's not any significant weakness. If anything, it's just a slightly different approach to how you want to play the game, and Rangers are definitely in a better position to change the game later if that is required. Celtic's always had that under Ange Postecoglou, you know, pretty much after the first few months. And if again you look at the bench today, other than James Forrest, which is a little bit of a surprise, being omitted completely from the squad, then again you get so many positive options for both teams if they have the need to change it.
What an incentive though, Hugh Keevins, just to round off the discussion on personnel, the chance to be a hero. It may be a predictable one, it may be an unlikely one, but someone out there has the chance to be a hero this afternoon.
History is littered with the names of those who made their reputation on the Old Firm game, and also Hampden Cup Finals. Kyogo, who thought a Japanese would ever settle a game between Celtic and Hibs in the League Cup Final of last season? And when we were out last night, all the happy team together, I said to you, Gordon, I had said the words, that might be the only goal of the game when Hibs scored, and before I got to the end of the sentence, Jim Duffy, Kyogo had gone to the other end of the park and scored. So that's how much I know.
Yes, the scene is set. You've now got the team news. We're getting ever closer. 40 minutes away. The sun's still shining on Hampden. The pitch looking magnificent. We'll hear from both managers, Ange Postecoglou and Michael Beale, next.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
Action as it happens. And your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Welcome back to Hampden. Kick-off edging ever closer. You can sense the anticipation building. So much build-up to this game. All the pre-match discussion. It's almost over. The fans are filling up the stands round about Hampden. The noise levels starting to rise as we get closer to that kick-off. Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel still with me at the National Stadium. Hugh Keevins and Jim Duffy back at Clyde 1 HQ. Looking forward to a fantastic afternoon. The League Cup Final, the first piece of silverware available in Scotland this season. But who will lift it? And as you can hear, that simply means that one of the sides has come out to start their warm-up. It is Rangers on this occasion. And you guys have been over the course before. That means half the stadium is delighted to see them and half the stadium not being so polite about their introduction onto the pitch. Let's hear from two men who will be heavily involved then this afternoon. The two managers. Will kick off with Michael Beale, relatively new to the role of course, but he's been talking about his experience of the fixture.
I think there's a lot of respect between the two sets of players and the management teams. I think it's two very good teams going head to head. Both teams have got a lot of experience in these types of games. If I look at my own squad, wasn't so long ago we was playing a European final and then very quickly a Scottish Cup final. So we've played here last month in a semi-final. So in that sense we're well versed in this type of game, in the build-up of the week. And it's about just going to perform on the day.
Gordon Dalziel, specifically for Michael Beale, what does this afternoon mean for him?
It'll mean a lot if he can get silverware on the trophy cabinet, Gordon. That's what he's here for. That's what he was brought in for. But for me, Michael Beale, I think he's got free hit just now. He started his Rangers manager's campaign brilliantly. He's got 1 draw and 9 victories. OK, he wants better displays, of course, but that'll come when he gets his own players in. I think the summer will be a massive time for him. When the transfer window opens, I think a few players will depart from the club. He'll bring in fresh faces, and then I think he starts again. Now I think we'd all agree, unless some miracle happen, Celtic will probably bag the title, because it's too far for me the way Celtic are playing. 9 points with a goal difference. So for Rangers to get a bit of silverware, and the first bit of silverware of the season today, would mean so much to the new Rangers manager.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Keevins, these games always mean a lot to the managers, but specifically under the circumstances that Michael Beale finds himself in. What's at stake for him today then?
Everything. Because, Gordon, this is a man who craved Rangers. He snubbed Wolverhampton Wanderers. What manager can you think of that turned down the English Premier League because he would rather go to the Scottish Premiership? And when he came during the darkest days for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and made no secret of the fact that he was in the director's box at Ibrox, it showed how much he longed for the Rangers job. And he developed that fascination with the club from the time that he spent at Ibrox with Steven Gerrard. He has nailed his colours to the mast. He wants to be at Rangers when they take over the mantle of power from Celtic. Therefore, today there is a tangible symbol of having got the better of Celtic. There is a trophy. That's why today is vital for Michael Beale.
Now let's also hear from Ange Postecoglou then. Celtic are obviously in a strong place. They won this competition last season. That got the ball rolling. They followed it up with a league title. They may well go on and win the league title again, as most people expect. Ange Postecoglou is just looking to keep getting stronger.
We certainly feel like since the break we've certainly been stronger. We had a strong first half of the year, to be fair, but we've consistently, I think, improved over recent weeks. A bit of that is just we've got a stronger squad. Obviously, we added some players in January who have helped us, not just in terms of the matches, but in terms of training. Just the level of quality of training has been raised. We haven't had a midweek game for 2 or 3 weeks now, which I think has helped us as well. And I just think our performances have got stronger, probably since the mid-season break.
So Ange Postecoglou then, same sort of discussion. Mark Wilson, you pick it up this time. What specifically is at stake for him? What about the importance of today for a manager who has already picked up silverware in this country?
Well, he's looking to obviously add more. I mean, Ange Postecoglou in some Celtic supporters' minds is already a legend, but to really, push that forward, then let's be honest, he needs to win every trophy that's in front of him. That's what's required, and today's another one against his greatest rivals here at Hampden. It's the first part of a treble. I've said it on numerous occasions. When you've got a 9-point lead in the league and you're in a cup final against Rangers, again, Ange Postecoglou says the line, it's one game at a time, but it must be in his mind. He knows that winning today is the first part of what could be a really special season for Celtic. So, and again, when a new manager comes into one of these clubs, it's up to the other, who's the dominant manager on the dominant side, to show that they are there for the long haul. It's not just a flash in the pan and Michael Beale's going to take over in these games. So hugely significant for Ange Postecoglou as well. Even though he's been there and he's done it with a Celtic side, still something different today in a cup final. Yeah, Jim Duffy, Ange Postecoglou still currently exists in the rarest of environments in Glasgow football terms, because he's universally popular amongst his own fans. That's very rarely the case, and one day it'll probably even erode slightly for one reason or another, but right now you will not meet any Celtic fan who has anything bad to say about that man, and I guess he has to try and keep pressing home that dominance today. Yeah, you're right in both counts, Gordon. At this moment in time, he is absolutely the darling of the Celtic fans, but as any manager can tell you, that can change very, very quickly, and you have to continue to be successful. And the reason why I disagree with Gordon a little bit earlier on, and he says a free hit for Michael Beale. I don't think you get a free hit as a Rangers or Celtic manager at any time. Unfortunately, you don't get that breathing space to bed yourself in. The demand to be successful is just paramount for every supporter. But in terms of Ange Postecoglou, he is. He's got his own style of play. Everyone knows, what that is, that high intensity pressing with the ball, and the tempo, pressing without the ball and that tempo with the ball. They're terrific. He hasn't quite reached the legendary status yet, because that'll obviously come over a period of time if he continues to be successful, and he's got to match the great managers that went before him. But at this moment in time, you're right, there isn't a Celtic fan out there who wouldn't have him on a 10-year contract. Not just the winning mentality, but the style, as Hugh mentioned earlier on, it's so entertaining. Celtic are a club, you go and watch them, particularly at Celtic Park, you can't be anything other than entertained, and they're winning. So they're winning it with style and in a manner that the Celtic fans are absolutely adoring. Yes, big afternoon for both managers, that goes without saying. Have they picked the right team? Will they make the right in-game changes? What will they say to rally their troops before the game? Mark Wilson, when it got to cup final day for you recently, was that an important part of it? Are you looking for that rousing speech, or do you not need that extra incentive? Is it already done for you? Already done. Now, I was lucky, I played with a mixture of managers who had a wee bit of that in them, and I always say that doesn't necessarily work all the time. Sometimes the calm approach, that the players truly believe in the manager and the work that's been done midweek. And I think Ange Postecoglou's a wee bit of both. I think he's meticulous in his preparation, and he would have known his team last week, but I also think he knows what to say at the right time to his players, and I think he will get that across in the dressing room this afternoon. That message, that vital message about how the club are representing That's why this half of Hampden love him so much. In his press conferences, he relates to what the fans think it means to play for Celtic, and I think he can portray that to the Celtic players this afternoon in the dressing room.
These games often throw up big surprises. It would be the surprise of all surprises if Celtic changed the way they played, Mark, or went about their business in a different fashion. They have done it against Ross County, they've done it against Real Madrid, they're now 20 months or whatever it is down the line, so it tends to be by and large the same approach. Are you expecting very much to try and see that from the off, or are there any small tweaks that he might make within this one?
I don't think he will, and you know, it's not to say that he's not got a plan B, it's just that plan A works all the time. Now when you've got the lead that they've got in the league and the way that they've been playing since the World Cup, then why would you change? I mentioned yesterday the players, the individuals in the starting 11 are all in form as well, so with a Celtic side, everybody knows what they're doing. I mean, there's no confusion, and why would you change that? So it's not just on the ball though, Gordon, it's off the ball that this Celtic side are tuned in. When to press, how to hurry and harass opponents in their own penalty box, and it's up to Rangers to find a way around that. Now we've seen so many teams in the past struggle. It'll be interesting this afternoon to see if they can come up with something.
And then for Michael Beale, Gordon, slightly different, well, for a number of reasons, but most importantly because he's earlier on in his time. He's trying to win games at the same time as getting his stamp across. He's spoken already about the fact that it is bound to take at least a pre-season to get real work done on that front. So how much today do you think can he make it about his team doing what they want to do, and how much is he going to be mindful of trying to stop what Celtic do?
Yeah, of course, he's got to try and look at Celtic. Of course he has, with the attacking player he's got, the middle of the park that Celtic have got, the talent. That's where it's going to be important. If Celtic dominate the middle of the park this afternoon, they'll win this game, Gordon. So Rangers have got to be aware of that. I think going forward there's a threat for Michael Beale. Sakala's in the team, reason being he's been in good form. Against Celtic, second half at Ibrox caused all sorts of problems. Yes, Celtic fans will argue that they lost Taylor Early, who's probably one of the best full-backs, and not if the best left back in Scotland just now. So that'll be interesting. Kent for me is a big player. You know, the amount of times that Rangers supporters turn up here at Hampden and think, right, this is your day, go and show the ability you've got, go and be the match winner that Rangers want you to be. Then obviously you've got your main man up front, Morelos, who will battle away. So it'll be an interesting afternoon.
The finishing touches are being added to the warm-ups at Hampden. You can see both sets of players just getting their final touches of the ball, and we will get even closer to kick-off after these.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Just over 15 minutes to kick off in the Scottish League Cup Final between Rangers and Celtic here at the National Stadium. The fans making their way into this famous old ground, hoping that they see something famous for their team this afternoon. Of course, it can go the full way, it can go the distance, it could be extra time, it could be penalties. We will wait and see. Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are with me, Gordon Duncan here at Hampden. You've got Hugh Keevins and Jim Duffy back at Clyde One Super Scoreboard HQ, and it is getting closer. Gordon Dalziel, come on then, this is where you really earn your wage this afternoon. You've spent years on this show telling us that you watch the warm-ups very closely. You claim to be able to learn things from the warm-up that no one else can. We all think you're talking nonsense. What are you seeing out here this afternoon?
Well, I noticed that Celtic were out 10 minutes earlier than Rangers, Gordon.
Great observation.
Obviously a little bit nervous in the dressing room. But no, both sets teams just going through the usual routines. Celtic working on that back four over on the right hand side there about shooting
he's
practice.
Actually talking us through the warm up.
So look, players will only be now, we've been in the situation before. All you want to do now is get in that dressing room, get your strip on, last couple of minutes from the manager, get out onto that part and try and win a cup for your supporters. It's a fantastic atmosphere in here. The place is going to be packed out. Pitch is perfect, sun is shining. What more can you ask for? We want goals.
You know all about it, Mark Wilson. These sides haven't met too often in League Cup finals. They met just a couple of years ago, and before that you played. You were Celtic captain for an hour that day. You discovered this week.
What a great honour.
What was this bit of the afternoon like for you? Did you hate it? Did you just want to get going? Was this more nerve-wracking than the game itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point there, because you're well aware of your surroundings when you're down there warming up. You know, it's the last half hour before you go into this monumental encounter, and you can see the crowd filtering in. The noise levels just start cranking up every 5 minutes as you get closer to kick-off. And Daz is completely right. At this time, you've done all your preparation. You really just want to get in the dressing room and hear those last few words from the manager and get in that tunnel ready to go for the whistle. But I mean, we couldn't ask for a better day. I said to Daz there just before, these are the days again that you want to be involved in. Sunshine, League Cup Final. And he's saying get the boots on. He disagreed. He hated football, this guy. He said he'd rather manage in this than playing it.
Because he's an attention seeker,
yeah,
and he wants it to be all about
individual.
him. But I suppose the other thing when we're talking about the surroundings, I don't want to labour the point, but the Hampden pitch did become a big topic of discussion after the semi-finals. Much maligned, statements made, managers unhappy. They did remedial work on it, and yeah, I guess, you know, without going all weatherman on you, it's been a bit drier in the last couple of days. It's perhaps helped. It does look good, doesn't it? Whether it survives, whether it's as sturdy as it should be, then we'll find out, but it looks good.
Yeah, it does look good from here, and we spoke to a couple of the guys who've been on the pitch and says it's nice and firm. But if the staff couldn't get this pitch right for this occasion when they had the lead up time, then would be as well just taking this showcase final and taking it elsewhere in years to come. So they've done their job. It looks good. The players will love playing in this surface after what they encountered on both of those semi-finals. Obviously the Rangers game against Aberdeen was worse because Celtic Killie played the day before, but both these sets of players relish playing in good surfaces, are used to playing in good surfaces. That's why I hope that makes for a great encounter this afternoon.
In terms of the psychology, Hugh Keevins, it's quite interesting because there are no, unless I'm mistaken, no debutants in the fixture. You know, we looked for Todd Cantwell, Nicholas Raskin. They'll have to wait to make their debut. Alistair Johnson played in the previous one, and we've seen over the years some players can shrink under the weight of this fixture, and others like Reo Hatate absolutely, you know, flourish on their debuts in the fixture, but they've all experienced it before.
Yeah, and that's why we hope it's an epic created by the atmosphere and not an epic diminished by the atmosphere. You have to be a strong constitution. You have to have a strong constitution to withstand all of the hype that goes on around this game. This is the flagship fixture in Scottish football. It is unrivaled in British football. I don't care who's playing. Arsenal and Tottenham, Liverpool and Everton, Man U and Man City. Nothing matches this for atmosphere. That's what these players have to live up to. And we have, I think, the two strongest 11s that can be picked by both managers. Therefore, it's now down to the players. It's no longer about the bluster, the bravado, the baloney. It's about the players, and they have to deliver.
And those players are just finishing off the warm-up. Celtic are done. They've gone back down the tunnel. The Rangers starting 11 just finishing off some of their pre-match routine with the fitness coach before they do the same, and that will pretty much be that. In fact, the noise you can hear is because Rangers have now taken their turn to head back down that Hampden tunnel. And I mean, Hugh Keevins, the size of the fixture speaks for itself. We're in a so-called neutral stadium that apparently has a Celtic end and a Rangers end, so that might not please everyone else in Scottish football sometimes, but that just tells you what these occasions can be like.
This is the way it should be. The day that Celtic and Rangers decided to minimise the tickets for away fans at Ibrox and Celtic Park was a sorry day, because this is what the atmosphere should look like, and that's why we are all looking forward to this match so much. As an old pal of mine used to say, and he played in this fixture, it's the only game where you get a standing ovation for winning a throw-in.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get that sense already. You look around, they can pretend all they want. I can see some worried faces, I can see some nervous faces, some excited ones as well, and that's just the pundits. That's just the pundits that are in the gantry next to me as well. So we'll see how the fans get on, and you've waited all week. A couple of more minutes won't harm you. Kick-off is coming next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
the roof is about to come off this famous old stadium in Glasgow's south side, because Rangers and Celtic are about to enter the field of play ahead of the League Cup Final. These famous two opponents have met many times down the years, many times in this competition, not that often in the final. Of course, 2019 when the bragging rights went to Celtic. This has been a competition that's been very good to Celtic over recent years. Rangers have, of course, had a longer wait. No victory in this competition since the 2010-11 season, and I'm sure Michael Beale will be looking to put that right. Let's remind ourselves of the starting 11s today with Gabriel.
Yeah, thanks Gordon. Two changes for Rangers from the team that beat Livingston 3-0 last weekend. John Lundstrom and Malik Tillman are both past fit. They come into the side. New signings Nicholas Raskin and Todd Cantwell drop to the bench. Kemal Roof has not made the squad despite his goal against Livingston. Alan McGregor is in goal. It's a back four of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davis and Borna Barisic. Glenn Kamara and John Lundstrom at the base of midfield, with Malik Tillman just in front of them. Fashion Sakala will play off the right, Ryan Kent off the left, and Alfredo Morelos leads the line. The substitutes for the Gers are McLaughlin, Cholak, Hadji, Wright, Jack, Cantwell, Raskin, Arfield and Devine. Well, the defending champions Celtic have also made two changes from last weekend's demolition of Aberdeen. Kyogo Furuhashi has been past fit to start. He comes in along with Aaron Moy. Matt O'Reilly and O are out and amongst the substitutes. They line up in a 4-3-3 formation as well. It's Joe Hart in goal. Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Stolfelt and Greg Taylor make up the back four. Callum McGregor, Reo Hetate and Aaron Moy are the midfield three, with Jota, Kyogo and Dazan Maida up top. The substitutes: Bain, Haksabanovic, Abada, Kobayashi, Turnbull, Iwata, O, O'Reilly and Ralston.
Off go the pyrotechnics. That's just the heat that Gordon Dalziel and Mark Wilson were looking for on a cold February afternoon, and that means the arrival of the teams is imminent. It's actually taken an ever so slight lull here. I think the nervous energy that Hugh Keevins alludes to throughout the week is just starting to come to the boil, and we wait on these teams coming out onto the pitch. Interesting listening to Gabriel, Gordon Dalziel. 7 of the Rangers team that started the 2019 final start again today, and only 1 of the Celtic starting 11. That shows you the difference that's happened to these teams in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, especially Rangers, as I said. They brought in 2 January signings. I thought they were brought in for occasions like this, Gordon, but he's went back to the guys that know this fixture, and I think that may be important this afternoon with the experience. I am a bit disappointed. Raskins, I think, showed a lot for me. I thought he'd have been brilliant in this afternoon, especially in the midlife part where it's going to be so important. But listen, it's a great occasion. The atmosphere is electric now. As we keep touching on, the pitch is brilliant. We're just waiting the teams to come now. I'm looking at the two teams, middle to front, and both sides. Surely plenty of action, plenty of goals.
Who's going to win this one then, Gordon Dalziel? Go on then, we've waited all week.
I'm going to say Rangers will sneak it, Gordon. I think it'll be very tight. I'm going Rangers.
Mark Wilson.
Oh well, no surprise for anyone listening. No, look, the way Celtic have been playing, if they play to that standard, then it's hard for any side to live with them. Even this Rangers side, who are their closest competitors in the league, I think Celtic will win this. I think both teams will score though. I think it'll be 3-1 Celtic.
Anyone predicting us to go the distance?
Yeah, I think we could win for a long day.
Oh dear.
I don't think
you've
it's
got
far
dinner
off.
plans.
I've got
Wilson.
dancing on ice planned tonight, so please record it at home for me.
We'll save Hugh Keevins and Jim Duffy's prediction for just a moment or two. Andrew Maclean is about to come in and join them and take you through the action. Once it's started, the build-up is almost done. You can just feel it. It's been a quick week in many regards. We've had so many phone calls on this show. Many people full of bravado, full of confidence, others acknowledging that these are the two best teams in the country, and it might be just that little bit closer. In fact, let's do it quickly. Jim Duffy and Hugh Keevins, give us your predictions.
Yeah, no, I think Celtic will win it, Gordon. I think that they're just better in most departments, and I think if both teams play at their very best, then Celtic won it for me. So for me, it's Celtic.
Well, we now have a 50-50 split because Mark Wilson and Jim Duffy are going Celtic. I'm joining Gordon Dalziel, and I'm going for Rangers by the odd goal in 5.
Ooh. There we are.
I'll take that.
Four pundits in the team today, 2 going for Rangers, 2 going for Celtic. Hugh Keevins never one to get his predictions right, so I hope it's not a 0-0 after he's just given it the big build up with the 5-goal thriller. But we shall see, because stranger things have happened. Strange things always happen in Scottish football, and strange things certainly happen when these two meet. You can actually see the players, they've been penned in the tunnel. They look desperate to get out. We're desperate for them to come out here and join us, but the time is not quite ready yet. They are waiting and waiting. Mark Wilson, that must be torture as a player.
That was the worst bit, because you see the crowd ahead again, the music's playing, the pyros are going up. It's your first glimpse of the opposition when you look ahead across the tunnel, and you just want out there on the pitch to quickly get this line-up done, the handshakes done, and you want the referee to blow the whistle. So they're waiting there patiently. I think they're on their way now.
I can see an SPFL delegate in the middle of the pitch.
I know.
He's got his hand in the air, which means it is almost time. Looking at my watch, I do feel like there is a slight delay here. I feel like they should probably be out by now. What are we, only 2 minutes away from kick-off, supposed to be? So there is some sort of unknown delay, I would imagine. Nothing too dramatic. James Tavernier, full of smiles in the tunnel, wraps an arm around one of the young mascots. What an experience for them. They won't forget this in a hurry. And interesting, I can't get no sleep is the lyric that rings out amongst Hampden. I don't think there was much sleep had last night. There won't be much had tonight either, and it could be for very different reasons. And here come the teams. As you can hear the roof coming off this famous old stadium, match official Nick Walsh picks up the match ball, strides onto the Hampden surface with the two managers behind him. Ange Postecoglou, so successful since he arrived in these parts. Ange, who they used to say, well, they know all about Ange Postecoglou now. So much success in his short time at Celtic. He won this very competition last season, got the ball rolling, won the league, and he's in the driving seat to do it again. And on the other side of the pitch, Michael Beale, he too knows about this fixture. He was here under Steven Gerrard, and now he is his own man. He put down a tiny bit of a marker when the sides met in January, a 2-2 draw, showing that Celtic wouldn't have it all their own way. But my goodness, how he could do with adding some early silverware to his CV as Rangers manager. The pre-match handshakes, so many players that have been over the course and distance. Callum McGregor will almost be sick fed up of lifting this trophy. I don't think so, but you would forgive him for having had those thoughts, having so many winners' medals in his trophy cabinet at home. A bit more of an unfamiliar look to the Rangers team in terms of winning this fixture. James Tavernier got his hands on the league title. He managed to lead the side into the Champions League. His journey has been fascinating since coming to the club in 2015, experiencing lows and highs as the Rangers skipper. But which one of them is going to climb these famous old stairs in, will we call it 90? Will we call it 120? We've got VAR, in case you hadn't heard. It could be a couple of hours, who knows? We might even get the most dramatic of conclusions with a penalty shootout this afternoon. But the scene is set. Reo Hatate's doing almost a dance in the middle of the field to add his finishing touches to his pre-match preparation. The Rangers fans with their pyrotechnic show to my left, the Celtic fans with their pyrotechnic show to my right. Smoke swirling around the National Stadium as James Tavernier and Callum McGregor exchange final pleasantries. I'm not sure there will be many pleasantries when this game kicks off, but final handshakes, final toss of the coin from Nick Walsh as the mascots make their way off the pitch this afternoon, and we are almost ready to get underway. Don't forget, we do have VAR in the competition now to add that extra drama, that extra spice. John Beaton is looking after things at Clydesdale House. Nick Walsh, the man in the middle. And don't forget, we are going to have a minute's silence prior to kick-off after the sad passing of Hibs owner Ron Gordon earlier this week. A real sad day for Scottish football, so it feels appropriate to hand back to Hugh Keevins, Jim Duffy and Andrew Maclean in that studio.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Well, all the build-up, all the talking is done, and now it's time for things to be settled on the Hampden pitch. It could be 90 minutes, it could be 120 minutes, it could be penalties, but by the end of play today, the League Cup trophy will be heading home with either Ange Postecoglou and Celtic or with Michael Beale and Rangers. It is a minute's applause that's going on at the moment in memory of Ron Gordon at the moment, Hugh.
Ordinarily, death would lend a sense of perspective on a day like this, but not on the day when Celtic play Rangers, because for some people, I underline some people, this game is more important than life or death, and that's the way they will approach it. But the players themselves will be respectful. Applaud Ron Gordon. Condolences to his wife and family. His sad passing, a terrible moment for Hibernian. But the players today have to respond in the way that they normally do. They are the two best teams in the country. Since they had a draw with each other at Ibrox, they have each played 9 league games and won 9 league games. They are far and away the best sides in the country. And now we look forward to them delivering a match fitting of their talents.
Ron Gordon's face was up on the screen, a photo of him at Hampden. The players have now broken off from that minute's applause. The Celtic players are in the huddle. Callum McGregor is doing his final speech to the players. The Rangers players just waiting about for Celtic to be ready. What will be going through the minds of those players at the moment, Jim Duffy?
Yeah, as Matt said, they really just want to get the game started. You can do all the preparation, all the team talks, all the motivational stuff, all the tactics. But bottom line is, it's not until that whistle blows when you know really how you can go and approach this game and who's going to take control of it.
Well, Aaron Moy standing over the ball and he kicks off. We are underway in the Viaplay Cup Final between Rangers and Celtic, and just listening to the atmosphere, we could hear it with the guys at Hampden. It sounds fantastic, doesn't it?
Andrew, it's almost a relief to get the game started. We've had a long week of debate. It's been very enjoyable on Super Scoreboard. Both sets of fans have had their say, but it's a relief to get the football match underway now, because enough talk has taken place. It's now time for action to speak louder than words.
Yeah, people are talking about nervous energy in the build-up to this, Jim. As soon as the first ball is kicked, what happens in the mind of the players? Does that all sort of clear out and you're just completely focused on the game? Or in a game like this, is it hard not to get wrapped up in it all, even when you're out there on the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's difficult for people who haven't been involved in this game. I didn't play in this game. I did play in a cup final, a League Cup final. Gordon was saying he would like to be manager. For me, I was actually both. I was playing manager in the cup final. So it's but the most important thing is you just want the game to get underway and get that first 5-10 minutes, get your second wind, touch of the ball, and just kind of try and settle into the game. I think that the first part of the game is always going to be a bit nervous. You can see Alan McGregor just now just slowing things down, taking his time. Again, just maybe assessing Celtic, seeing how they set up. Are they their normal 4-3-3, or is there a little tweak in the shape?
Yeah, the first action of the game came within the first minute. It was a ball from the left, Rio Hatate trying to float across into the box, but it just went over Alan McGregor's bar, so not any work for him to do there. He's taken the goal kick, and now Rangers in possession. But it is so key in these games, Hugh, a quick start.
Yeah, I thought the game at Ibrox was spoiled by the fact that the players simply could not keep possession of the ball. Both teams, it was passes to each other. In fact, Celtic's opening goal came from a misdirected pass from Alfredo Morelos. So hopefully they don't get swallowed up by the occasion.
Yeah, that was a strange game, because when you think of it, a 2-2 between these sides, lots of action, but there really wasn't a lot of quality, was there, Jim?
Hey, no, listen, I really enjoyed the game. Yeah, there was listen, it wasn't as slick as both teams would have liked, and the ball was given away, but that makes sometimes for chances, and that's what it ended up 2-2. I think in most games, if you've got a 2-2 game, you're certainly entertained. Yeah, I think both coaches would want to be a bit tidier and take a little bit more care with the ball. But, if we got 2-2 today, I don't think many of us would complain, that's for sure.
Yeah, the first foul of the game was Fashion Sakala just on Greg Taylor. Celtic winning a free kick there. Not really much in that, apart from, just the correct decision. And Celtic will look to play on. Malik Tillman winning the ball back for Rangers. His inclusion as he plays a pretty heavy back pass towards Alan McGregor, who has to control it and just clear it up the park. But Rangers fans will be delighted to see him included in today's team, because we didn't know whether he was going to be involved, what his injury was like. The last time I think Michael Beale had spoken about it was Tuesday, but since Michael Beale came in especially, he has been certainly one of, if not Rangers' best player.
Yeah, certainly a creative spark, there's no doubt about that. He wants to get on the ball, he wants to be positive. These type of players are invaluable in these occasions, because it's easy just to play safe. But you need players that will take risks in the key moments, and Tillman certainly got the quality to do that. As we know, he's still a very young player, But there's no doubt of his talent, and we just see there actually Rio Hatate I think just falls on top of him and his knee catches the back of his head. But Tillman's a very influential player. As Gordon Dalziel was saying, I thought most people thought Raskin would maybe be in place of maybe Kamara, but I think they need that little bit more stability when you allow Tillman to go forward and link up the play alongside Morelos. Then you need experience, and Kamara and Lundstrom have got the experience, not just in their own games but in this fixture.
We saw Michael Beale on the screen just there. How do you think he'll be feeling? Less than 40 games as a manager, and here he is on the touchline at Hampden in a cup final against biggest rivals.
He will know instinctively that this could be the real making of him. The first trophy of the season. People will speak of Michael Beale being here to shift the balance of power away from Ange Postecoglou and Celtic. There's no doubt that the players have responded to him in a major way. Under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, it simply was not good enough from Rangers, and they were, against Celtic, fairly easy to beat. And Ange Postecoglou underlined that point with a 4-0 win, a 3-0 win. So they are transformed under Michael Beale, and you always need the tangible sign of the transformation, and a cup brings that for you.
What would you describe that from Alfredo Morelos there? Just letting Alistair Johnson know he was there, just a nudge in the back as Johnson was clearing the ball.
Yeah, I don't mind that from Morelos. I mean, listen, he gets a lot of stick, but I think he's that type of player. He's a combative player. So he's just there's nothing too malicious on it. But I think what they're saying to Celtic at this moment in time is, if Rangers can press high, they are certainly going to do that. There's been a couple of games, particularly at Celtic Park, where Rangers have sat off Celtic, allowed Celtic to dominate play, and found to their cost because Celtic have absolutely punished them. But I think that there's the kind of two lines now. If Celtic have got the ball at Joe Hart and deep, Rangers are pressing really, really high, and Rangers are the midfield are going right up almost man for man. If Celtic get out the press, Rangers then drop right back, maybe 30 yards deeper than the halfway line, not to allow that space for Kyogo and Maeda to get in behind. So I think there's a bit of a tactical switch, or certainly more of a tactical way of playing for Rangers than Celtic. Celtic just play their normal game.
Yeah, Dyson Maeda was a clipped ball over the top towards him. He got in behind James Tavernier, but his cross on the half volley was sliced out for a Rangers goal kick. So no goal mouth action so far. It has been a pretty quick 6.5 minutes so far in this game, but to see, it does actually look as if the Hampden pitch is cutting up quite a lot, though. It looked good. I was there on Tuesday up close. It looked a lot better than it did last month, but it certainly looks as if it's cutting up quite quickly.
Well, Jim, you spoke earlier about the tempo dropping a fraction for Celtic at Hampden. That it looks that way for both teams at the moment. There's not we know the atmosphere is frantic, but the play's not so frantic.
Yeah, not been it's not quite high octane yet, you would say, Jim.
No, I listen again. Both teams understand the importance of the occasion, and listen. It doesn't matter how many times you play in these type of games. You still understand that if you make an error early on, it hands a huge initiative to the opposing team. So everyone's a little bit careful, a little bit cautious in the first part of the game. I think it'll maybe take 10-15 minutes. They're sussing each other out a little bit cat and mouse. But eventually the game will settle down. Yeah, the pitch does look as if it's cutting a little bit, but the ball's moving quite well. So I think it's probably been I don't know if it's been relayed or just the grass is just cut a little bit short. But either way, it doesn't seem to be disrupting the flow of the ball too much.
Yeah, Celtic have been the team with more possession so far in this game, but once again just unable to hold on to it, and the ball is just sort of exchanging between the two teams quite a lot in these midfield areas. Celtic looking to break out now. It's Alistair Johnston who plays it out wide to Jota on the right. A couple of step overs, clips the ball in, and it was a potential chance there. Kyogo just heading the ball down into the box, but Rangers can deal with it.
I thought Kyogo could have taken it in his chest there. I mean, he's tried a little cushion head. I think it was actually Callum McGregor. No, I don't think it was. Maybe Hatate had come into the box here, but to me, Kyogo could have just leaned back, taken his chest and went for the volley.
He had a bit more time than he thought.
But listen, he's tried it. Jota's in behind now.
Yeah, the ball over the top to Jota, plays it low across the edge of the 6-yard box, but
the flag
has gone up. It's the late flag, of course, that you see with VAR. Connor Goldson did turn to the assistant as soon as the ball was cleared by Rangers, and it will be a free kick. And that one was pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing now that, you know, even whether it's commentary, whether it's, you know, people at the game, because listen, it's not the assistant's fault. They've been told that you must wait until the action is finished. Don't put your flag up because, you know, it might be a fraction and VAR will decide. So they've got to wait. So it is a bit frustrating for commentators, a bit frustrating for people watching the game, particularly if you're at the game, because you think your team's got a chance. But you know, listen, this is the way the UEFA have instructed.
I mean, VAR doesn't really work without it. Essentially, if you're looking for those marginal offside calls, it makes complete sense. But I do get that it does frustrate supporters and other people at times.
I think people are waiting on an injury, Hugh. You know what I mean? Particularly if a player runs through and the goalkeeper's coming running out at the same time and he's well offside. There's going to be a collision. There's going to be a significant injury, and that'll be the time when.
For all the people have said that over the years, and I hear that argument all the time, it's still not happened.
It hasn't happened yet. You're right, Andrew. That's what I'm saying. But I think there will be an occasion, you know, where somebody maybe even makes a rash challenge, just in terms of maybe bringing someone down like a professional foul.
Alfredo Morelos using his strength there to sort of fend off and get the ball off Cameron Carter-Vickers on the halfway line. Rangers unable to do anything once they started moving the ball forwards.
I think Carter-Vickers was too long on the ball. We just get caught in two minds. Anyway, the first 10 minutes have come and gone, and it's been rubbish. So we can only hope it improves.
That was your prediction, Hugh, saying that you wanted it to be 3-2.
I know.
You thought it was a goal fest.
Yeah, there need to be a lot of late goals in this game.
Well, no, I still don't rule out goals, but the first 10 minutes have been, you know, given the week that we have had building up to this match, the first 10 minutes have been an anticlimax.
Yeah, sometimes games don't live up to the hype, but it is still early, still plenty of time, and sometimes there is just one moment or a goal, even a chance can spark things into life.
Yeah, but I think, listen, both managers will understand that, you know, sometimes these are the way the games are played early on, and they won't get too frustrated, won't be too too much of a rush to change things. I think at this moment in time, I would guess Michael Beale, looking tactically, will be probably quite happy. Celtic was one little half chance, as we mentioned, the ball came into Kyogo, but Rangers tactically are looking to press Celtic, but I think Celtic would have expected that. I think we've heard Dan's Portugal saying before, we worked on different scenarios, a team sitting off us and a team really pressing us, and they work on teams pressing them and high pressing, and they're not fazed by it. So I think that's the reason why Celtic have probably been slightly more on the front foot than Rangers at this moment in time.
Yeah, Celtic quite keen to work the ball into wide areas, just haven't managed to get that end product so far. Maida with a couple of chances on the left to put deliveries in, Jota on the right as well, but nothing doing so far.
Fans complaining about the pitch, and then the big burn mark on it caused by a flare.
Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, we know these things happen all the time now, but as I say, from Rangers' point of view, I think, as I said, listen, 11, 12 minutes gone, Michael Beale will be looking, thinking, right, okay, we've settled into the game, we understand the way Celtic are playing, our shape looks good, they haven't got in behind us so far, so then they'll hopefully grow into the game a little bit more, and as I said, get a little bit more possession and a little bit more threat. But you can see Kamara and Tillman and Lundstram getting really tight to the Celtic midfield, trying to deny them space.
Yeah, well, the ball is with Borna Barisic on the left, goes to cross. That one is blocked and will go out for a Rangers corner, their first of the match, with around 12 minutes on the clock. So a chance for a delivery. It will be James Tavernier, I think, to take that one. It will be an in-swinger. Borna Barisic just walking away.
It's probably the first time, Hugh, that Barisic is waiting up the pitch, isn't he? Yeah. He's probably been a wee bit more concerned with Jota, but again, his delivery is normally very good, but I think it was Johnson got out to manage to block it, and it was Kamara actually, so there was obviously a wee change in the so maybe come up with something different here. Yeah, it
has gone short from Glenn Kamara. He gets it back from Ryan Kent, and if this one was off the training ground, I'm not sure it's quite been executed the way that Michael Beale would have been hoping. Rangers still with a chance to get the ball into the box. Malik Tillman driving towards the byline. Wonder if the ball maybe went out. John Lundstram with a shot. That one is blocked. Was it by his own man? That one. Rangers continuing with the pressure. Ryan Kent cutting inside. His shot loops way over the Celtic bar to the point where you actually thought it might have taken a deflection, but it was just a poor connection from Ryan Kent, and Celtic get a goal kick and take that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the corner quite came out the way they would, but they ended up a decent chance. But as you said, as soon as Kamara went over, you knew there had to be something a little bit different from Rangers rather than just a straightforward delivery. Took it short, tried to play it to the edge of the box. Wasn't the best of touches and set up play, but eventually the ball came into wider areas, and they played it across the goal, and Rangers with a shot, it was blocked. I think it was, Joe Hart, Hugh looked as if he was maybe struggling to get to that, but certainly I'm not sure if it was one of the Rangers players that hit or one of the Celtic players, but either way it was deflected clear.
I just don't think that Celtic have arrived in the game yet, 14 minutes in.
I mean, neither team have so far. There's not really been any chances of note, as cross goes into the Rangers box from Rio Hatate, but that's just deflected into the arms of Alan McGregor, who rolls it out to John Lundstrom, who was under pressure at the edge of his own box from Aaron Moy, but has managed to get up towards the halfway line before Moy steals the ball back. It has been sort of stop-start, no real sort of patterns of play in terms of just either side being able to keep the ball and just get their foot on it and try and work something. It's just been a bit messy.
There's always a danger that the occasion gets to players, swallows them up to an extent, and we have yet to have a cup final hit the heights.
I must admit, I don't really think it's the occasion. I think it's a little bit tactical, and I think that's what that was going to be. I think if you look, we know that Celtic like plays inverted fullbacks, so I've just seen Taylor getting away into the round about the centre circle area. Sakala's away in with him, so I think that's obviously something that Michael Beale's looked at and said we can't get outnumbered in those midfield areas. So he's obviously instructed these players, if you're with them, stay tight with them, and then Tavernier's going to have to deal with Jota if they get it out there. Maeda if they get it out there. So from Rangers' perspective, as I said again, they're looking to try and match up in these key areas. But Celtic, I said, they're still the team, on the front foot. They just haven't managed to click in the final third yet.
Once again, Celtic looking to go over the top. This ball towards Kyogo, but he was unable to get it under control. That will go out for Rangers goal kick.
Yeah. Well, as I say, Celtic still subdued by their standards. Rangers subdued by their standards as well. So it may take the first goal of the game to just galvanise everyone and give us a better match than we're currently watching.
In the early stages of these big games, Jim, is it a bit like a game of chess? Both teams just trying to work out exactly what the other are doing, and it does take time for both teams to settle because of that.
Yeah, you have to problem solve. You look at the opposition. Listen, you might know, primarily, as I say, Rangers will know how Celtic like to play. Celtic may be thinking, right, how are Rangers going to do it? Are they going to press? Are they going to drop off us? But I think, you're looking at it, and then you've got to try and work out the solution of how to play against whatever setup they're playing. I think particularly at this moment in time, Celtic are thinking, right, okay, how do we break through Rangers, because they're very, very well organised at this moment, and I think that's been a feature under Michael Beale so far. I think that they have been really organised. They've been, even when they haven't played great, they've been very, very strong defensively, and then managed to grind themselves out a few results. I mean, Michael Beale's admitted that himself. Eventually he's wanting to be a little bit more flair and imagination in his team. That's the reason why he signed Raskin and Cantwell. But so far, as I said, tactically, Rangers have done what they've been asked to do. Keep it tight. Not Malcolm McGregor's not their save to make. Neither is Joe Hart. As I said, and they'll look for both teams to try and improve as the game goes on. Yeah,
well, Celtic once again into the Rangers third, and I think was that a shot from distance from Callum McGregor under pressure from John Lundstrom that was heading, I think, towards the corner flag before it was blocked. Is that Alfredo Morelos down in a heap holding his ankle?
It didn't look too much to me. It looks as if he just toe poked it and maybe just get caught from Alistair Johnson. But I don't think, it's nothing in it for me. I think it's
he sort of jumps into Johnston, doesn't he?
I don't really know quite why he's holding his shin. He's obviously trying to influence the referee a little bit, but there's nothing in it. It's a free kick, but no more than that.
Not in a dangerous position though. It's still in Rangers' own half as we wait for really the first shot on target of this game. Neither goalkeeper has had anything to do apart from a couple of goal kicks each.
Do you think the pitch is having any effect at all, Jim?
I thought it just looks a little bit slow, Hugh. Maybe a little bit sticky. Maybe, I mean, I know the water of the pitch, and it's a dry day. We had it yesterday as well. So it's listen. We always want this level nowadays it to be absolutely pristine, and it's maybe just slowing the ball down a little bit, and we know both teams like to move the ball quickly. But for me, I just think Celtic haven't got the wide players. They normally get the wide players involved much more. Jota and
Aaron Moy clipping the ball into the box for Jota. I think he was just trying to slice that one across the face of goal towards his teammates that were arriving in the middle, but it goes into the arms of Alan McGregor. Rangers will now attempt to break up the field quickly. Don't have too many numbers up there as of yet. Ryan Kent just cutting inside as he likes to do, around 35 yards from the Celtic box.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Andrew. If you looked at Sakalas hardly touched the ball, Kent's a little bit more involved, but not much. Neither Jota or Maeda. So everything seems to be through the middle is now for both teams, and that's the reason why it's breaking down. They're not getting any real width into the game. And as I said, and I think that's something that normally they're very, very good at. So I don't know if that's again because the way the opposition are playing against them, denying them that space. But generally speaking, both teams like to exploit the wide areas, whether it's their full-backs coming and delivering, or whether it's their actual wide players being in these situations. And I said at the moment, everything's really, really tight in the middle. It's a very, very congested middle of the pitch with 6 players in there, at times 8 players in there with the full-backs going in. And I just think that they need to try and transfer out wider to open the game up, make it a little bit more open and a little bit more entertaining, and maybe get more goal-mouth action, Hugh.
It's a game crying out for something to happen because we're 20 minutes in and nothing continues to happen. I don't know the reason for that. You can come up with anyone you like. All I know is it's a disappointment so far.
Sometimes just takes one bit of magic from an individual player, whether it's a great ball into the box, a brilliant through ball, whether it's just a driving run to spark things.
Well, there's enough players on the pitch for that to happen. I mean, from both sides, you've got real quality in the final third. They just haven't had enough of the ball yet. They've been starved a little bit of the ball in good areas. As I mentioned, everything seems to be through them. The players that get more touches of the ball, the likes of Lundstrom, Kamara, McGregor, Moy. But they haven't managed to play that crucial through ball.
There's a clip ball over the top towards Kyogo, who takes it down brilliantly. Alan McGregor comes out and foils him though, and that was an opening for Celtic.
Yeah, well, that's a typical Kyogo move, isn't it? He just comes slightly short and then spins in behind, and there was no complaints from Kyogo.
Celtic still trying to pile on the pressure. Jota with a left-footed shot, and that one is saved by Alan McGregor. James Tavernier will clear before it goes out for a corner, but that is the first save that's had to be made. Alan McGregor having to be alert a couple of times there in the space of a few seconds.
If you're the reporter sitting there in the press box, that's the first note you've taken. It's the first serious moment in the game. Good shot, Jota. Good save, Alan McGregor. Let's hope the key in the ignition has just been turned.
Yeah, I mean, just before that, the ball over the top, as I said, Kyogo spun in behind and McGregor came out, but as I said, he's obviously got a touch to the ball, or I'm not sure if Kyogo just lost his footing, but either way, there was no complaints from any of the Celtic players, so nothing untoward there. But Kyogo, as I said, has just shown you that even in that split second, you have to be stayed fully concentrated for every second in the game, because if you switch off for a split second, he can take advantage of it, and then the ball falls to Jota, who'd a lovely left foot strike, cuts inside, and just takes a little touch, and it's a very, very good save from Al McGregor. He manages to push it wide, didn't push it back into the danger zone.
Yeah, and just before that, he had to be alert. Ball over the top, Kyogo. It was a really good touchdown from Kyogo as well. Got it in tight to his feet, but Alan McGregor just out quickly enough to stop him getting a clear shot away. But that is the first opening of the game, 22 minutes in. Celtic with a couple of half chances, you'd say, at least one half chance in there from Jota's shot from the edge of the box.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we've mentioned, Andrew, the game has been. Let's just look at this touch again from Kyogo, and as I said, I think that Alan McGregor's a good hand to it. So terrific goalkeeping, showing all his experience. Didn't overcommit early. Waited until Kyogo took the touch, then he made his decision to go and block it. So terrific goalkeeping from Alan McGregor. A lot of debate whether he should be at Rangers again next season or not, whether it's time to look for a new goalkeeper, but he's still showing with those 2 saves that he's the number one.
You said in the build up to this, Hugh, that referees and VAR might be a decisive factor in this game.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened so far. If you look at the rugby, there's been 2 red cards in the first 10 minutes between Scotland and France. Not going well for Scotland, but let's focus on the football, shall we?
Well, for that one moment, we're 23 minutes into the match with that one moment. Jota shot, good save by Alan McGregor. Moy, little over elaborate on the ball at times. People wanted him instead of O'Reilly, but he's yet to impose himself on the match. I think the referee just overlooked a clear foul there as Jota Hatate hits the deck, but on we go.
Yeah, Glenn Kamara just sort of bundling into the back of Rio Hatate, trying to win the ball. Nick Walsh felt he did so fairly, and Rangers get possession.
Yeah, I don't really mind that from Nick Walsh. You can't give every challenge a free kick. He was a little nudge or bump. Sometimes it can depend. But
Fashion Sakala in a good area here to cross the ball, but doesn't beat the first man. That one is put behind for a Rangers corner, but it was a nice ball from James Tavernier, wasn't it? Just inside. Greg Taylor allowed Sakala to get the burners on, get in behind, and was Greg Taylor who ended up was the one that cleared it.
He left Greg Taylor for dead there. He was past him in a flash.
Yeah, but again he went short, and that's what happens. Greg Taylor makes his first move towards the ball, and then he spins it behind. It doesn't matter how quick you are. If you're going one way and a quick player's going to be there, you've no chance. So the Rangers, if you want to call it a traditional way of corners, in this time with Barisic coming over to pick an in-swinger and try and put a lot of pressure. They're trying to surround Golson's trying to get in front of Joe Hart, trying to annoy him. Nick Walsh is going to have a little word with him. Carter Vickers is marking him. But again, they'll look to try and exploit any weaknesses in that area, and Barisic is normally good delivery.
Yeah, it's going to be an in-swinger from Borna Barisic. Nick Walsh just having a word with Connor Goldson and Cameron Carter Vickers. The corner almost goes over everyone. Ben Davies was at the back post and was just too high for him, was unable to get a decent connection. Goes out for a Celtic goal kick. But when there aren't chances being created from open play, you really need to make the most of set pieces, and Rangers haven't done that so far with their 2 corners they've had. Yeah,
I think it was something that they've worked on. I think they've tried to distract Celtic at the front area, and then Davis goes to the back, really deep at the back post, and try and look to head it back across the goal. But Starfelt did a really good job on him, get really tight to him, and didn't allow him any chance to get himself off the ground. And as a result, just come off the top of his head, Davis, and went for a goal kick. And Joe Hart, again, as much as he possibly could, taking it quickly. So Celtic are now up the other end of the pitch.
Jota just trying to find Aaron Moy in the box with a reverse pass, but that one is intercepted by Borna Barisic. I was going to ask who's going to be the happier manager in the opening 25 minutes,
Neither.
but I'm not sure. Not sure either. We'll really have too much feeling either way about how the game has gone so far.
You can only comment on what you're looking at, and what we're looking at is a disappointment so far. It's not been the frenzied, wonderful final we had hoped. And Daisen Meda, every time he touches the ball, it's a mistake from him. He's having just a very, very poor start to the game, and he has been sensational since the World Cup ended and he's come back for Celtic. He has been sensational, but everything he touches today, he gets it wrong.
Yeah, that's a few times now where he's just run the ball out of play.
Yeah, I think he's come back with a lot of confidence because he was selected, obviously, in the game, just scored in the World Cup. He got good plaudits and that level as well. And I think the game's beginning to open up a little bit now.
Rangers in the Celtic box, Sakala with a couple of step overs, and it's actually going to be a goal kick to Celtic because his low cross hits the defender, comes back off him and goes out for it. That was a driving run from Ryan Kent through the middle, which we've not really seen so far. He's cut in from the left a couple of times, but these are the games that he likes to get involved in and step up and try and make his mark.
Yeah, but with the two wide players in good situations in the last couple of minutes, and neither of them have done anything with the ball. And obviously Maeda just run the ball at the pitch, and then Sakala, for me, a 1v1 situation, he's got to do a lot better than that, but he doesn't. He ends up hitting it off the defender, ricochets off himself. And I think when you get in a tight game, when you get those opportunities, you've got to be better. You've got to make better decisions in those key moments because they're few and far between, as we've saw.
Alistair Johnson going for the cross into the Rangers box, and that's Rio Hatate this time, whose first touch is a volley straight over the Rangers bar. I think he was maybe looking to just cushion it back across goal and got it all wrong.
A player of his quality, though, Hugh, and the form he's in, Hatate, you think he would do a lot better than that. And I just think, as I said, it's, there's none of the players, certainly the flair players, the creative players, the midfield and the front players, there's none of them anywhere near the level we're expecting to be at.
No, I mean, we're coming close to the first half hour, and the neither team look like themselves. The individually, people like Maeda, Hatate, Moy for Celtic, it's just not happening. Tillman for Rangers not imposing himself in the game. Ryan Kent flattering to deceive. It's not been the final that we had hoped so far.
Yeah, the camera just panned to a pretty glum looking Kamar Roof in the stand there as the ball is played into the Rangers box. Fashion Sakala able to recover it at the edge of the box, and Rangers will break clear. But just on Kemar Roof, I'm sure he'll be more frustrated than anyone about his situation. I don't know if we've had confirmation if it is an injury. You'd expect it is if he's not on the squad whatsoever today. But the fact that he comes back in, gets a goal, and is out again will be a huge frustration to Rangers supporters and Michael Beale, because he just cannot stay fit, can he?
Yeah, but more for the player. I feel for the player. I mean, he's a terrific player. I mean, obviously we all remember that wonder goal in the Europa League last year. But his record when he plays is decent for goal scoring, but he just cannot seem to get any kind of run whatsoever. Even innocuous injuries, it seems to be little bumps, bruises, strains, and it puts him out for another few weeks here and there. And I feel for the player. It must be demoralising, because I know how hard players work to try and get themselves back fit again when they've had long-term injuries, or spending time on your own or with the sports scientist or the physio, and then you're just desperate to get back playing again, and then it's another injury, and then one after that. So I think psychologically, he absolutely must feel bruised psychologically in how often it's happening to him. But listen, all he can do is support his teammates today and hope that they come up with the goods without him.
Sakala breaking into the Celtic box, but Malik Tillman was just crowded out at the edge of the box when it was played to him. It was a big switch from Ben Davies that opened Celtic up there, but
again, Hugh,
Sakala once again.
Sakala for me 1-1. Go and take Greg Taylor on. Go and commit defenders and show that you can be the guy that can make the difference.
Ryan Kent just playing that to James Tavernier, drills it across, and that one is just wide. And I think it was a really good block there by Cameron Carter-Vickers, because the ball across the face of goal from James Tavernier was heading towards Malik Tillman, who would have just been able to tap into an empty net at the back post there. But Cameron Carter-Vickers does exceptionally well to turn that one round the post and out for a corner.
Did exceptionally well not to score an own goal, but a tremendous block from Carter-Vickers. Rangers, they do have the potential going forward. They look dangerous on occasion. Another corner kick to test Joe Hart.
Yeah, Barisic in swinger. It bounces right in the middle of the Celtic area, and it will go out for another Rangers corner. It was Aaron Moy who had to deal with it at the back post.
Yeah, I think Alfredo Morelos, to me, I don't know why he checks out, but for me he's got to gamble there. You can see the gap, and he doesn't. And I think Conor Golson's actually berating him and saying, look, where are you? You're supposed to be in there. We've worked on this. A terrific ball in from Barisic, and for me, Morelos has got to take the gamble. But leading up to the corner again, we talk about Tavernier. When he gets into those situations, his quality is exceptional. That's why he's got so many assists. And it was a perfect ball across the goal, but magnificent defending from Carter-Vickers.
Well, Rangers with their first prolonged spell of pressure. A James Tavernier corner goes towards Alfredo Morelos, and it's now headed out by Rio Hatate, and that will be another Rangers corner.
Third time lucky, they will hope. That they've certainly got the momentum at this stage in the game.
Yeah, I mean, but they're matching up. Obviously, we can see in the camera from distance. They're all matching up. Obviously, Aaron Moy is on Morelos, and Alistair Johnson's on Lundstrom. The both centre halves are taking up the opposite centre backs. But from both teams, neither of them are huge teams in terms of physicality. But it's all about delivery. And again, Barisic and Tavernier have got terrific delivery. But Rangers will be pleased. I think, you asked earlier on who will be the happier manager. I think Michael Beale will be the happier manager, because I don't think I think tactically he set his team up initially to make sure that Celtic don't cut them open, don't play their normal game, high intensity, and I think that's by and large has been very, very good for Rangers. Other than that one effort from Jota, then Alan McGregor's been largely untested. And although Joe Hart hasn't much to do, I think the Rangers, as I said, will be quite pleased at the fact is it's a comfortable 0-0 at this moment.
Yeah, Celtic, they've changed the wings now, Maeda and Jota, but they just don't look like themselves.
Yeah, Maeda and Jota, as you say, on opposite sides now, just seeing if something can change by doing that. They have won a corner. Will be Aaron Moy to take on the far side.
Corner, Andrew?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it was like a great switch of play from Carter-Vickers, and a good first touch this time from Maeda. Barisic does well to get his foot wrapped around it, but first corner for Celtic.
Aaron Moy to deliver this one. It's headed, it's flicked on, I think, by Carl Starfelt. Couldn't get a good enough connection because Connor Goldson was putting him under pressure, and Rio Hatate can gather at the far side of the box, and Celtic just having to really recycle, start again. It's gone all the way back to the halfway line.
And now it's going back to Joe Hart.
Yeah, all the way back to Joe Hart, who's yet to have a save to make.
Yeah, and he's just kicked the ball out of the...
There has been a lot of unforced errors from both sides. We saw not long before that the ball came over to Glenn Kamara, who just tried to nod it down and nodded it straight out of play. I don't know whether it's nerves, the occasion, whatever it is. There just seems to be quite a lot of unforced errors from both sides at the moment.
I genuinely don't. I think these players are far too experienced. They've won trophies. I think there's very, very few on that pitch that haven't been involved in major matches. Some whether it's international or domestic. I think they can handle the occasion. I just think, as I said, that both teams are cancelling each other out. It's a little bit like the time at Ibrox, although the game finished 2-2.
Yeah.
There was a lot of unforced errors in that game, and I think this is very similar.
James Tavernier creating space, or trying to at least, down in the corner to get a cross away, but Celtic just doubling up on him, and Rangers get the throw in. Dyson Maeda felt pretty strongly that it should have been a Celtic throw.
Well, it's the only game where you contest a throw in as vigorously as this. But both sides now looking for, as Hatate runs the ball out of play but gets away with it. Both sides are looking for that psychological lift that would come scoring late in the half and hopefully take it into the dressing room with them for the break. But what is Starfelt doing?
Just a Cruyff turn at the edge of his 6-yard box. To be fair to him, it came off, and Celtic have cleared the ball long. But yeah, he was being put under pressure by Alfredo Morelos, I think it was. But it was just a nice composed turn. The type of, certainly the moments that hearts and mouths for supporters, but never really in any trouble there. Carl Starfelt just turned away from Fashion Sakala, it was, before Celtic got the ball away.
Modern day defending. Years ago they would say put it into Rose Ed. Now they say no, keep the ball, keep playing. And again, Ange Postecoglou, as I've mentioned, wants his team to play out from back, even under pressure, even under a high press. So Starfelt's fully aware of that. A little check, a little as you say, a little turn in the box, and comfortably plays it out. So fair play to Carl Starfelt.
Rio Hatate just collecting the ball on the left. His ball forward is intercepted by James Tavernier, out for a Rangers throw, and James Tavernier not looking happy with some of his teammates there, just not happy maybe with her positioning, just felt they weren't tracking back enough.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that if Celtic to take that throw in forward and bounce it back, they're outnumbered, so he wants his midfield players in particular getting back on the toes of Jota, on the toes of Hatate, but they were a little bit lazy that night. And again, I think the fact is that Hampden helped Rangers here, because if that was at Celtic Park, the ball would have been down and played by then.
Yeah, Aaron Moy just turning around 18 yards away from the Rangers goal, but once again Rangers just able to stifle Celtic and boot the ball clear.
You can very, very rarely say of Celtic they don't look threatening, but they don't look threatening. They are night and day from what we have come to regard as the normal Celtic. Kyogo not involved in the game at all. Jota's had one shot, in fairness to him, and he's lining up for another one.
Well, he passes it to Kyogo, who curls one. Did absolutely no backlift on that whatsoever. Did curl it from just in the D, just outside the box, but that one went over Alan McGregor's bar.
At least it was a decent effort. It's the old can't win the raffle if you don't buy a ticket. So it was a very decent effort, I thought, from Kyogo.
Actually went just wide rather than over, not too far away.
Yeah, not too far away. Listen, I think players like Kyogo, they're not going to be involved in the play all the time. We see many top teams now that play that lone striker role. Then, they're doing a lot of the running, a lot of, try to stretch defenders, try to create space for other players, and not always getting, the many touches of the ball. But it's in the pivotal moments, the key moments that is going to make the difference. And that's where Kyogo almost come up there again. As Hugh said, he's hardly touched the ball, but he said that one ball over the top where he had a great touch and McGregor has to make the save. And then he said one there where he just sets it and then tries to curl it, and he's maybe a foot away. But again, it's a decent effort. And I said before, you switch off at your peril when it's Kyogo. I mean, his goal rate this year has been exceptional. And he'll just think, no, I'll get one real good chance. There'll be one real good chance come my way, and if it does, I'll be the hero that wins the cup.
Yeah, Joe Hart just having to put his foot through that one under pressure from Alfredo Morelos, only about 2 yards from his own goal line. But you know, you do invite that upon yourself when you want to play out from the back at times.
He never looks overly convincing, does
No.
he, Hugh, when he gets the ball at his feet? He always seems to get stuck under his feet a little bit,
Yeah.
and he needs to almost shuffle it away.
Yeah, it's a fault that has always been there in his game. He's criticised with his clubs in England for that fault. I'm suspicious of why you need to pass it back to him as often as you do. It must be clear that he's not entirely happy with it.
I mean, again, it's the way they play it, and because Celtic dominate the ball so much, they don't very often. I mean, we've seen it in Europe a couple of times, but it's not very often he gets exposed. It's happened once or twice, and I think all goalkeepers are going to happen the way the game's played now. It's going to happen once or twice, and the vast majority of the time, as long as your teammates, your outfield teammates, make the angle for you, then you should get away with it.
This is a match now, 39 minutes with one shot so far. Jota has had the only honest to goodness goal.
Ryan Kent's thinking about it from distance, cut in from the right this time, but that one with his left foot was comfortably over Joe Hart's bar.
So 39 minutes, one shot to speak of, and a decent save from a more than decent save from Alan McGregor.
Yeah, I think Gordon Dalziel had mentioned, like Ryan Kent, these are the days you want him to really step up to the plate and say, right, listen, I'm the man here, I can be the main man. We all know about his talent, but it's those levels of consistency and how often you produce it, and these are the days you're looking for it. I think all the Rangers fans would be looking for him to be, a little bit more influential in these type of games. Listen, there's no one really stamped their authority in the game, either individually or collectively. But it's
Kyogo with the ball in the box at a tight
again.
angle. That one just sliced by the near post. Just I think a hand of apology there to Maida as well, who was darting into the box.
His movement is terrific, absolutely outstanding movement. He gets himself back on side, and the defenders are thinking he's going towards the ball. Next minute he's on the shoulder, goes down the side in between defenders, and he doesn't quite swivel enough to get the ball on
Tough
target.
ones from those tight angles, aren't they, when the ball's getting away from you, just trying to play it across goal.
Yeah, you've got to try and really bring your shoulder round and get that, and he's more than capable of doing that. But it's kind of symptomatic of the game just now, where none of the key players, if you want to call it that, are at the top of their game. And that's the reason after 40 minutes where we've had very few goalmouth incidents, and I think by and large it's been a disappointing spectacle. Although tactically, it's quite interesting. But from an entertainment point of view, not anywhere near it.
Alistair Johnston crosses, and it's a header from Kyogo just over the bar. I'm not sure. I don't think Alan McGregor got a touch on it. It was quite central, the header, but that one just over the bar. A good cross it was from Johnston on the right, but Kyogo just unable to keep that one down.
Should he have done better?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he actually gets too much on it. He's really just looking to flick it and just get a glance towards the back post, but he actually puts too much on it, and that's the reason why it rises. He heads it with too much power. He just wants to almost skiff it with the side of his head and just flick it into the far post, because it was a decent cross. But again, he gets in between two very tall defenders, but that's because he knows there's no point standing next to them. I'm not going to win a header, so what I'll do is I'll look for the space. And without being a classic football match, he still had 2 or 3 opportunities to score, and that just tells you the quality of the player, because he just keeps waiting and searching for that vital moment. And Rangers have got away with it a couple of times there where he hasn't produced the finished article, but if they keep giving him the chances, eventually he will punish Rangers.
Is that a concern for Rangers that Kyogo was afforded that much time and space in the box, completely unchallenged?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Conor Golson's taken up if you want to call it just a position. He hasn't been aware of where Kyogo is, and for me, that's always a wee bit of concern, because there's only one strike in the box, and for me he has to be a lot closer to him than he was on that occasion.
This is the first period of the first half where Celtic have looked like Celtic, but they've given away possession carelessly there.
Yeah, it's certainly not been a classic, but I don't think that will matter to the team that wins this game.
No,
people don't really talk about how they won it, just as long as their team do win it.
If it's the scruffiest win in the history of the game, it won't matter on an occasion like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think listen, anybody watching it on TV or around the world, and this game does go around the world, as you said, it's a huge box office game. People, we want it to be better, because unfortunately, right or wrong, our game is judged by these teams and these type of games. But you know, at the moment, it's going to be a goal. There you are.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Celtic 1, Rangers 0, and it's Kyogo who taps in. It was a ball across the face of goal from Greg Taylor. Maida tried to hit that one, but he scuffed it and it went straight into the path of Kyogo, who opens the scoring at Hampden.
Well, he was the most dangerous player, as Jim Duffy said, not really in the match all that much, but still there to take advantage of any lapses in concentration from the Rangers defence. Maeda has a fresh air swipe at it, and it goes to the foot, the lethal foot of Kyogo Furuhashi.
He might tell you he was trying to help that on, but I'm not quite sure that was the case.
He can tell me all he likes, but he had a fresh air swipe and it's gone to Kyogo, and he doesn't make a mistake from that range.
I mean, we were literally just talking moments ago about Kyogo being in space in the box, that potentially being a concern, and there he was just popping up completely unmarked. What was that, around 5-6 yards out, tap in?
Yeah, I mean, it was only a couple of minutes, and we just said if they keep allowing that space, eventually he's going to punish them. It's exactly what happened. You know, you cannot give a player of his quality time and space in the box, time after time. You know, there's no way he's not going to take advantage of it. And he's standing all alone. I mean, I think Ben Davies has got to do better initially. I think he's got to, cut the ball out, which is across the goal. I think Barisic has got to narrow in as well, because he's worried about Jota on the outside of him. He can't worry about Jota. The ball goes over his head, then he just got to deal with it. But so the gap was there between the Rangers defenders, and Kyogo fully exploited it. Again, his movement is terrific, although people will look and say, well, Maeda's had a fresh air. But if you look at Kyogo's movement to start with, he's outside the box and then he just doesn't make a straight run. He kind of almost drifts, and then as he waits till Greg Taylor's ready to play it, and he thinks, I'm going to gamble. And like all top strikers, you know, he gets his rewards.
I'm going to dust off the old cliche book here, but it's a great time to score, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So long as you take it up the tunnel with you, you've got the Celtic end obviously going to be boisterous, buoyant. The Rangers end subdued, silent, and that's the way you want it to be. There's only 1 minute added on to the first half. We've got 40 seconds of that gone already. It hasn't been a classic. You can say that without fear of contradiction, as Rangers take one last chance at it, but Starfelt nips in to stop Fashion Sakala. It may not have been a classic, but that doesn't matter. On a day like this. So Rangers will have one last attempt at a free kick, which
I can't believe it. Nick Walsh didn't book Greg Taylor there. I mean, he's absolutely tried to take Sakala out the kick.
The free kick goes short. That is half time. Let's get the story from Hampden with Gordon Duncan and the guys.
And at half time it is Rangers 0, Celtic 1, and a moment of quality just before the interval is what separates these sides in the League Cup Final, and perhaps no surprise, it comes from Kyogo. He's the Scottish Premiership's top scorer. He's the man that scored vital goals to win Celtic this very competition last season, and he may well be the man that has a decisive say this afternoon. In truth, up to that point it was the first half lacking in goalmouth quality. Yes, Celtic perhaps with the most of the ball, perhaps with the control in the match. Rangers looking to counter-attack at times and did flash one across. Fashion Sakala tried to get in the end of it. Carter Vickers directed it wide of goal. Reo Hatate had curled one over. Dyson Maida had fluffed his lines a couple of times, as I'm sure the guys in the studio had covered. But then just before the break, that one moment of quality was from Celtic. A good move down the left. We've seen it many times. Flashed across the brace from Taylor and finished by Kyogo. And Andrew Maclean, Jim Duffy and Hugh Keevins, I'm sure, have described the action perfectly in the studio, Mark Wilson. But what about us? What have we been able to witness specifically here that the guys maybe haven't been able to pick up on?
Yeah, well, I think the guys have said just there, just caught them briefly saying it hasn't been a match really high in quality, and I would probably agree with that. It's still been a fascinating encounter for us to watch, and especially from this vantage point where we could see both teams' game plans and how they're trying to go about their business, how they're trying to press, and in possession, how Celtic are trying to stretch the Rangers backline. And as the game wore on, Celtic got into good positions, but I felt they were a wee bit sloppy in the final third. I think Ange Postecoglou would have been irritated by that, but that one moment of magic where Celtic do get it right, They have plenty bodies in that box, and Kyogo's there to tuck it away.
And Gordon, what a difference a goal can make. Do me a favour, take a look to your right. You will see a fan base jumping up and down, pyrotechnics, singing, waving flags. Take a look to your left, you see a fan base that's flat, because that one goal, that one moment just before the break has put a whole different complexion on this.
Yeah, the fans to the right aren't bothered about the quality of the first half, Gordon. It wasn't the greatest that we were expecting. We thought it would come out and it'd be fast, it'd be furious. It didn't happen. I think that suited Rangers.
It's been the opposite, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought tactically for Rangers it was very good, because you stopped Celtic with that fast-flowing football. The wide areas were poor. The quality from the wide areas were poor as well. When was it the last time you seen Celtic playing a first half and it took them to 31 minutes before they even got a corner kick? And then all of a sudden you're thinking, yeah, it's going to be a case of, will they change tactics second half, 0-0? That one bit of quality. And it starts with Aaron Boy. That's a terrific ball. Taylor finds the space and finds the quality, puts it in the dangerous area, and all of a sudden Maeda takes a swipe at it. Kyogo eyes must have lit up. He will not score an easier goal, a tap in, and that's what separates the sides.
Well, it's been a fascinating first 45 minutes. Maybe not the goal fest some would have anticipated, but we did get one just before the break. It came from Kyogo. It comes for Celtic, and at half time in this League Cup final, it's Rangers 0, Celtic 1.
The fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
A rare moment of calm in the National Stadium as both sets of fans take breath after what was an interesting first half. It is indeed Celtic who lead at the break thanks to that goal just before the interval from Kyogo. And it's fascinating, Mark Wilson, because we too are watching some highlights of the first half, and almost the difference in two key moments. At one end, Rangers get a ball down the side of the box. James Tavernier tries to flash it across the face, and Cameron Carter-Vickers slides in with an outstanding tackle to divert the ball away. And then at the other end, when Celtic have a similar move, the Rangers defence don't do their jobs anywhere near as efficiently, and Kyogo says thank you very much to open the scoring.
Yeah, well, Carter-Vickers in that one you're talking about, just positionally top notch, just gets his body into the right position, diverts it away. Then you analyse the goal from a Rangers point of view, and their back four are all over the place. Tavernier's out of position, Goldson almost crosses over, Davies then comes across to compensate for that, and Barisic, I've said on numerous occasions, positionally for me he is poor time and time again for Rangers, and he's too far out. He doesn't recognise the danger. The danger's Kyogo standing right in front of him in the middle of the 6-yard box, doesn't pick him up, and it's the easiest of finishes for Kyogo.
Yeah, and Gordon Dalziel, it's fascinating because the guys in the studio will have been describing the action. Maybe something that you get more of a sense of when you're in the stadium is almost the game plan or the way the teams will go about it. You can see Rangers, because they know what Celtic want to do. So anytime the ball goes out of play, Alan McGregor is in absolutely no hurry. Jim mentioned it before the game. This is Hampden. It's a different surrounding. It's you can't dictate the external factors the way you might otherwise do at Celtic Park. The ball comes back in very quickly, they get on with it. It's just not been like that. Rangers look happy with it. Celtic, for what it's worth, kind of look okay with it as well at times, because they've changed their approach almost. It's just much slower than the league meetings have been.
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not making excuses, but I don't know if the pitches might have played a part in that. But
I even mean getting the ball back into the pitch when it was out.
Yeah, and I think that Rangers set up tactically to go and stop Celtic playing this fast-flowing football, and it worked, because just before Kyogo's goal, I'm thinking probably Beale will be the happiest of managers, because Celtic 31 minutes before they got a corner, you look back, McGregor's had a good save from Jota. Yes, Rangers haven't offered a lot apart from a terrific defensive save there from Carter-Vickers with a tackle, he sees out the danger. But then they got undone, and that's what Celtic can do to you. It's the movement from Aaron Moy who sets it up. That's a trigger point. He gets into a great position between the midfield and the defence. Goldson gets caught out. It's a great ball into Taylor. It's weighted perfectly for him. Cross goals, and as the boys quite rightly say, you can point the finger. Golson's nowhere to be seen. Barisic must recognise there's a danger there. They don't. Kyogo puts it in the back of the net. But I think if you're Rangers, I'm looking at their flair players, the guys that Rangers look to change the game for them. Sakala, I would like to see him be more positive. The one thing the boy's got pace. There are a couple of times he's lined up against Taylor. Go and take him on one by one. Kent's went in and out the game. Morelos has offered nothing. And for me, I'd be very surprised. Tillman is struggling. I do not think the guy's 100% fit.
Yeah, this could be a big half-time team talk for the managers. They may have to shuffle their packs. They may have to make big decisions. Will there be any changes? We will find out and get the second half next.
Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast with Lookers Land Rover. Buy your next car or book your MOT, service or repair online. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast with Lookers Land Rover. Buy your next car or book your MOT, service or repair online. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Well, it's that time on Cup Final day where the managers may look to their bench to see if they can improve things in the second half. They've done their half-time team talks. They're going to try and inspire, in the case of Celtic, to kick on and win this thing, and in the case of Rangers, to get themselves back into it. There are certain footballing cliches that just land, and conceding a couple of minutes before half-time is a terrible time to concede a goal, Mark Wilson. I think everyone would acknowledge that.
Yeah, real body blow for Rangers, because that's what he's rightly saying. I think Beale would have went in this at half-time thinking, right, we've slowed Celtic down, we've got them to our pace, let's go and impose ourselves in the second half. But that goal just changes everything. And you wonder if Michael Beale is looking at his bench. We mentioned before the game that the midfield area and the wide areas were big calls for the managers. Would it be Moy? Would it be O'Reilly? Would Maeda come in? Initially I thought at half-time Postecoglou might have thought about changing Maeda. And the opposite side, I wonder if Michael Beale would have looked at his midfield. Lundstrom, have you seen him on the ball? No. Kamara, have you seen him? Not. And Tillman does look like he's struggling. He looks at his bench. He's got Raskin, he's got Camwell, he's got Jack. Will he make a change? I think he might be tempted.
Sorry, Gordon. To be fair, Mark, to both sets of players, I look at the 2-3s up top. You know, Celtic's front three, Rangers front three. Rangers front three have offered absolutely nothing in this cup final, and Rangers supporters will be disappointed with that. Up until Kyogo's goal, Maeda had been terrible. Jota in the right wings offered nothing. Kyogo's making no fantastic runs but not really getting the service. That goal has changed the full cup final for me. I think Michael Beale has now got a difficult decision to make, because I keep saying it, can he tweak the system a little bit? Jim Duffy touched on it earlier before the game, the 4-2-3-1, maybe change it to that, because Tillman to me does not look fit.
At the same time, Mark Wilson, we only have to go back a few weeks to see a meeting between these sides. Not similar, because Celtic scored early that day, but in terms of taking the initiative first, it's a good thing. You would rather have it, but unless you can capitalise on it, there's always a way back for the other team. And then when the momentum swings that way, you need to make sure you stay in control.
It's how resilient you are when Rangers get a grip in this game, which you ultimately will. You don't go through these games dominating for 90 minutes, so this is how the first 10-15 minutes to this one will be crucial. We saw back at Ibrox, Rangers started well, got the goal, and the game completely changed.
And I can tell you there will be no changes at the break. Both sides remain unchanged. Celtic 1 goal to the good. If it is a quiet, uneventful second 45, then it will be Celtic who lift the League Cup in around 45 minutes time. Rangers, of course, trying to get back into it, but we are very, very close indeed to finding out who lands the season's first piece of silverware. A huge second 45 minutes here at Hampden, and it's about to kick off.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Rayhow products with a 14-day turnaround. Call them today.
Yeah, as Gordon said, it is a massive 45 minutes for both these sides. Kyogo's goal just before half-time is the difference at the National Stadium between Celtic and Rangers. It's Rangers to kick off, and no changes for them, no changes for Michael Beale heading into this second half in this game. Is that a surprise, Jim Duffy, or do you feel it's still quite early?
I'm a wee bit surprised because I think that listen, game plans are fine, but basically game plans go out the window if the team scores in the 45th minute or whatever it happens to be, and obviously Celtic have done that, and we know how good a team Celtic are on the front foot. They're not going to sit back and invite Rangers on top of them. They're still going to try and score that second goal, and if nothing else, we'll try and keep possession. But I thought Raskin or Cantwell might have come on, maybe sacrifice Kamara, and I think that for me that would maybe send a message out to the Rangers fans. Listen, we're not accepting this. We're going to go for this. We want to win this trophy. But listen to me, well, I've just said let's go for it another 15 minutes. Make sure we can see if we can get ourselves back in the game, and ultimately we'll have to see if his team can do the business for him.
Well, it's quite simple for me, Jim. While you're waiting and making your mind up about Cantwell and or Raskin, if Celtic score a second goal, this cup final's finished. So that's the gamble that you take.
Yeah, well, Rangers just trying to probe in the early stages of this second half. Celtic winning the ball back from them. And how does Celtic's game plan change, if at all, at the moment, Jim, with that one goal advantage? Is it just same old from Ange Postecoglou and his players?
I think you said if at all, Andrew. I don't think Ange Postecoglou knows any other way of playing except for being on the front foot, and I don't think his team know any other way. We've seen it so many times in domestic fixtures. We know this is a cup final, but we've seen it so many times that they're uncomfortable, they're in cruise control, 2-3 nothing up, and they're still searching for that next goal. So as I said, I cannot see them changing the way they approach the game at all. I think they're going to try and get that second goal, and if they do, they'll continue to play that same way. It's up to Rangers to go up another level, another gear, maybe even a couple of gears, because if they play the same tempo, and the fact that they haven't tested Joe Hart at all as the guys at half time say, other than that one terrific clearance for Carter Vickers, Joe Hart has had nothing to do. So Rangers have to be a lot better in the final third, have to be, or else Celtic are going to get away with the trophy.
Well, they have to see the pitch first of all, which is obscured from view.
I was going to say, it looked as if we were watching a game from the 1800s there. The smoke from the flares actually made it look as if the game was in black and white.
Why the game tolerates this business of flares, I do not know. They're dangerous, they're toxic, and at the moment they're obscuring the player's vision. Ridiculous.
To be fair, it always looks a lot worse on camera than it does at the stadium or pitch side. But an early Rangers corner.
Yeah, it was good play. This time again, Barisic getting forward, and I think Michael Beale's got to be saying, Barisic and Tavernier in particular, you've got to take more risk, because at this moment in time we're losing the cup final, so we've got to get ourselves in the final third. Tavernier coming across again, more traditional corner kick from that in swinging from the left hand side.
Yeah, this one will go into the box, but it's punched away by Joe Hart. Will bounce out for another Rangers corner on the opposite side.
Yeah, I went deep again, Hugh. It must be something I've looked at, maybe from Celtic's point of view, trying to exploit someone in the back space. But I thought, hey, Joe Hart does okay, in terms of clearing it away. But I think he maybe could have just have taken another step and kept a hold of it. But Barisic this time coming across, and again, traditional in-swinger.
Does look like quite the atmosphere there as well. There is more pyrotechnics that I can see amongst the supporters as Borna Barisic puts up his right hand ready to deliver this corner. Goes into a dangerous area, and I think it was Kyogo at the front post that got the vital flick on just to take it away from any potential arriving Rangers players there into the box. Yeah, it was a good header. That's his job, being in that front post space, making sure if his head's flat, he deals with it. And yeah, sometimes it can skiff off top of your head and be a dangerous ball into the box, but he timed it to perfection, and Celtic, as ever, get themselves on the front foot and on the counter attack. Jota looking for the early cross there. That one, I think he was actually offside. The flag has gone up now after he was unable to get that cross away. Rangers have taken a free kick quickly. Malik Tillman turning away from Callum McGregor, and he'll drive towards the Celtic goal. It's now Ryan Kent. Ball opens up for him, and he's hit the post, and it's Fashion Sakala, and that one goes into the side netting, and Rangers coming very close to equalising. I don't know what he's smiling at. He should be grimacing. I mean, to me, listen, it's good play from Rangers, particularly Tillman, the first time I've really seen him. A good strike from Ryan Kent, but he's either got to square it. So you need to play that across the face of goal, because he's at a very tight angle. Yeah, he's either got to score or he's got to square it to Morelos, but he does neither, and as a result doesn't even hit the target, and then he's kind of smiling. I know it's maybe a kind of sarcastic smile, but to me he's got to do a lot better than that, and that's something that really is he's got to improve upon. Fashion Sakala in those key areas there. 50 minutes on the clock for the first booking of this game. John Lundstrom goes in late on Aaron Moy.
As straightforward the booking as you'll ever see, but Morelos somehow takes on the referee over that.
Yeah, Nick Walsh actually pointing to the yellow card and saying to Morelos,
do you want this
as well? Yeah.
I think he was going about, as I said, right before half time. Greg Taylor tried to take Fashion Sakala out to play, and normally referees will come back to that one, but Nick Walsh didn't, and I'm sure Morelos has remembered that and saying, well, how come he didn't book Greg Taylor in that situation?
Well, Jota with a cross into the box headed away by Connor Goldson, and Rangers just able to clear the danger there. It would be massive for Celtic if they could be the ones to get that next goal, and it is another cliche, but the next goal is so crucial in this game.
Yeah, but in a game where there's been very, very few opportunities for Rangers, they've got to make better use of the one they've just had there with Fashion Sakala. Again, Tillman, as we mentioned, does really, really well to get on the turn and get away from Moy. Plays a perfectly weighted pass to Kent, who's a good strike to the far post, hits the post. But, again, if you think the angle's too tight, if Sakala does think that, then he just has to square it to Morelos, and he's got a similar tap in to what Kyogo had. But he went for the glory and didn't hit the target. So if you don't hit the target, it's a wrong decision.
He's cutting a pretty frustrated figure at the moment. Alfredo Morelos gave away a free kick for a challenge on Johnson. Now Celtic, Jota on the right, cuts inside, and again turning Barisic inside out, tries to go for the ball across the face of goal, but Borna Barisic managing to block it at the final attempt.
Yeah, decent for Barisic that time because he didn't overcommit. Listen, it's difficult, you're 1v1 with Jota, he's 2-footed, he can go either way, but eventually Barisic manages to block it. So yeah, we give him a bit of criticism in the first half for maybe not doing as well as he could have done with the Celtic goal, but good defending that time.
Aaron Moy lining this one up from the corner. Plenty of Celtic players lining up. The ball bounces right in the middle of the Rangers box. I think it was maybe a flick on at the front post, but it's eventually cleared all the way back to the halfway line for Greg Taylor.
Well, Celtic looking more like themselves. They must know subconsciously that if they do get a 2-goal lead, be a long way back for Rangers. So that has to be uppermost in your mind.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Tillman there. Malik Tillman just kind of jogging around. The guys obviously seem a lot better from what we do, or when they're up in the gantry, they've got a perfect point of view that they can see the whole pitch and his movement. But I don't know whether he is kind of a little bit or not. But he's certainly not looking anywhere near as sharp as he has done. He's a little bit pedestrian in terms of his movement. So it'll be interesting to see after an hour whether that's one player that might have to be sacrificed just in terms of energy levels, if nothing else.
Yeah, 8 minutes gone in the second half. Is this around the time that you think Michael Beale will start to look behind him and see what options he wants to put on to try and change this game and put it in Rangers' favour?
I think we already had that in mind, Andrew. You have to, a manager when you've got a strong squad, you have to think, right, if it's going okay, these are the possible options we might do. If it's not going okay, these are other things. Listen, you can't get everything because you can have injuries and a variety of things that can change the dynamics of football. But I think he would have looked at it and says, right, okay, injuries aside, if we need to change it, this is part of the way we can change it.
Well, Aaron Moy, the ball was played over to him from Rio Hatate. It was bouncing. He tried to flash it across, or not really, sort of loop it in towards the Dyson Maida, who was at the back post. Celtic still have possession though. Rio Hatate cutting inside. Connor Goldson challenges. That's a vital block in there from Ben Davies because the ball was being fizzed across the face of the Rangers goal. Kyogo was there waiting at the back post, and a similar sort of incident to the one in the first half where Cameron Carter-Vickers made a big clearance. This time it's Ben Davies who steps in and takes the ball off the feet of Kyogo.
Brilliant initially from Maida just to work just to keep the ball in play, and then as you said, a ball fizzed across, and Davis had to be on his toes and very, very alert, and he was. So again, good defending from Ben Davies on that occasion.
Yeah, Celtic just trying to see what they can do, get a ball into the Rangers box. Malik Tillman winning it back on the touchline before Borna Barisic clears that one forward. Just around 10 minutes of the second half gone now. How do you think Michael Beale will have seen the response from his players so far?
There hasn't really been a response. That's not to say there won't be one, but at the moment Celtic are looking the dominant side. Yeah,
I mean, they had that chance early on in the second half with Ryan Kent and then Sakala on the follow-up. and that obviously could change the whole dynamics of the game if they get that. And then there's Kyogo in again.
Hatate at an angle, cuts it across the face of goal.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And it's that man again, Kyogo. He got 2 in the League Cup final last season. He's got 2 in the League Cup final this season. It was Hatate with the ball across the face of goal, and Kyogo with another easy finish from a few yards out, just taps in, and Celtic have a big advantage in this game. 2-0 up against Rangers now, and looking very, very good for a potential League Cup win.
Well, you'd have to say from this distance, given that the course of the game all day long, could you possibly imagine Rangers winning 3-2? Not from this distance. I can't see it at all. And once again, Kyogo lightning fast in his reactions and in his speed of thought. For me, I don't think that Rangers can come back from this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Celtic play the Celtic way. They don't change it for anyone they play. Mark Wilson alluded to at the start of the game. So, and they absolutely know what's happening when there's certain situations developing. When Aaron Moy picked the ball up there, similar to Greg Taylor making that run, they know it's going to be inside the fullback and across the goal. Similar there, Aaron Moy picks the ball up. Hatate's already on the move, he's breaking.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
In between Golson and Tavernier, and he's saying, go on, put it in there for me. Moy does it, absolutely perfect. And then when that ball's in there, Kyogo knows that the quality is going to come across the 6-yard box. How many goals has he scored like that? I mean, he scores a ton of goals just gambling. Not you say gambling, he's better than just gambling. He knows where that ball's going to go and reads it to perfection, and just again gets across in front of Davis, taps it in. They look easy, but it's about the quality, the build-up play, the execution and the knowledge of each individual player has about their teammates.
Yeah, Ange Postecoglou will be delighted with that, because Celtic work on that a lot in terms of getting the ball in the right areas out wide and just either cutbacks or balls across the face of goal. You see it so often from Celtic, and they've benefited twice from it today. Yeah,
but it's that initial ball from Aaron Moy, it just splits it up. I mean, there was a debate about O'Reilly, and I was wondering, because I thought maybe O'Reilly might have stayed in the team, but Aaron Moy's been so influential in 2 absolute outstanding moments in terms of setting up the play, which is just cut open the Rangers defence. I mean, as we see Glenn Kamara getting booked there for a lunch. I don't think there
can be any complaints about that booking, sliding in on Hatate.
I was going to say to you, Jim, until that moment, I'd forgotten he was still in the park.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't substitute him at half time, I have to say that. And now he's going to have to make substitutions, because at this moment in time Celtic are totally dominant. I mean, as again we can see Celtic hunting down the ball there. The ball goes back to McGregor. They don't sit off and think we're winning 2-0.
Chance. No.
Well, Joe Hart out quickly. It was a ball over the top from Ryan Kent, I think, towards Fashion Sakala, but Joe Hart came out around 25 yards from his goal line and wasn't the cleanest of connections, but did the important job, got it away from Fashion Sakala, who was trying to break through.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the way Celtic play, they know that if they're going to squeeze the game, Joe Hart knows he's got to be in a very advanced position, which he is, and provided he clears the danger, it doesn't matter if he sticks into touch or not. It's different, I think, if you're having to chase the game, but Celtic don't, so as long as he clears the danger, that's all that matters.
How big has the midfield battle been in terms of Celtic asserting some dominance in this game? Because you've really not seen much from John Lundstrom, from Glenn Kamara. Malik Tillman hasn't really been in the game at all, yet you've got the likes of Hatate, who has been influential so far, Aaron Moy involved in the second goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, Tillman had that one moment where he played the ball to Ryan Kent, and Kent hits the post. So he said one little moment of the influential in the game. But Aaron Moyes had two fantastic moments as we a chance for Rangers there.
Yeah, Malik Tillman playing the ball across the box. James Tavernier just having to go backwards, so it was behind him, and Celtic can then push out because Rangers are forced all the way back to Glenn Kamara, who's around 40 yards out. And that will frustrate Michael Beale because Rangers just getting the ball in and around the Celtic box but unable to capitalise on it.
Yeah, again, they didn't have enough bodies in the box.
A Borna Barisic cross there nearly catches out Joe Hart. He obviously wasn't what he was going for, but nearly just dropped over the head of Joe Hart and into the back of the net, but does go wide of the post.
Yeah.
Well, we've now reached the famous 1 hour mark. A triple substitution.
It's going to be Nicholas Raskin, it's going to be Todd Cantwell and Ryan Jack all coming on for Rangers. So Michael Beale has seen enough with 60 minutes on the clock. Two of the new January signings along with Ryan Jack will be coming on, and we'll see shortly who is going to come off, just as we see a replay of that goal. And Kyogo, has been fantastic all season for Celtic, and another two huge goals for him today.
Yeah, I said before, you can say about Kyogo sometimes we say he's not been that much involved in the game and so on, but he's a player. I say that doesn't frustrate him. He doesn't get himself bothered about that. He knows if he keeps making those runs, his teammates have got the quality to find him, and he just keeps doing it. If you think about the game, Andrew, he said he scored two. He said another one where Alan McGregor's managed to get a hand to it, but he's getting behind. He said a header just over the bar, and he said a kind of curling shot from about 20 yards. That's not a bad return from your striker. When you're playing as a lone striker, that is not a bad return, and scored two goals, which at this moment in time should be good enough for Celtic to win the trophy.
Is there a potential that Rangers are going to change their complete midfield three here? Could it be the starting three that come off rather than anyone in the forward line?
Yeah, what do you think, Hugh? Do you think he'll take the three midfield players off, or do you think he'll sacrifice any? I can't see any. I can't see him taking Kent off, and I can't see him taking Morelos off at this moment in time, because he's no natural striker then.
It's a time for the bold initiative, because whatever you do, as O'Reilly and Abada are prepared to come on as well, but whatever you do, you're saying to the three subs coming on for Rangers, look, we have less than half an hour to play and we need 3 goals. Those are the facts of the matter, that Rangers have less than half an hour and need to score 3 times, well, twice to get them extra time.
I think the only thing Rangers can do at this moment in time is try and score. And then we always know if a game gets to 2-1, even if our team have been largely dominant, you get yourself back in the game, and the complexity of the game can change. Nick Walsh is given a handball, which is a handball. Alistair Johnson's hands outstretched, and he's fortunate that he's a yard outside the box rather than a yard inside the box. But it's a good position for Rangers. Maybe 2 yards from the touchline. So this will be the last opportunity, I think, before he makes his substitutions, and if they can manage to get a goal back here, it's game on again.
Yeah, James Tavernier standing over it. Both managers will wait, I think, until this is taken before they make their changes. It will be 5 in total, 3 for Rangers, 2 for Celtic. Celtic fans sure will be more than happy with the changes, because they know that the guys coming on, Matt O'Reilly, Leila Bada, they've shown their quality plenty of times. Leila Bada certainly plenty of times against Rangers as well. James Tavernier just lining this up.
This is a major chance for Rangers. They have to take full advantage.
It drops to Morelos at the back post, and he stabs that. Has it gone in?
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Well, it wasn't too clear. It looked as if it may have gone wide, but no, it's crossed the line. It's in the back of the net. Alfredo Morelos is claiming it. The ball dropped to him at the back post, and he was the one that reacted quickly. He just stabbed the ball towards goal, and Joe Hart got a hand to it. Wasn't enough. And with 63 and a half minutes on the clock, Rangers have a goal back.
Well, everything changes now, and the 3 subs are there to see what they can do. Celtic, you never get the impression that they're comfortable with balls in like that, and that they've not defended it well. They weren't solid, and Morelos, who's had a very poor afternoon, all of a sudden, game on again.
Well, Celtic making their changes first. Jota coming off for Leil Abada, and you would expect that it would be, is it going to be Aaron Moy or Hatate, one of the 2 coming off for O'Reilly? We'll see. It is going to be Aaron Moy that makes way for Matt O'Reilly. Is that goal going to change anything from Michael Beale, do you think, in terms of the substitutions? Will still be the same three possibly?
No, he's still behind the game, so he's got to give it a go. He's actually a better position now to change it, because the three players are getting on now are not thinking, oh, this is a thankless task. They're actually thinking, wait a minute, we might be the players that can make the difference now. We're only one goal behind. So yeah, if anything, I think it gives confidence to the substitutions and gives the team, and the supporters a bit more belief, because before that goal went in, I'm sure hardly a Rangers fan in the ground would have thought they could get back in. But fair play to Morelos, because as Moyes marking him, and he kind of goes to go in a little bit and checks out, and he just again takes that little split second to set the ball up. It hits his mid-drift, and then he just kind of makes a good clean connection. Joe Hart gets a hand to it and he's in at the near post. But again, as we've said about Kyogo, you don't need to always be involved in the game if you're a striker. You need to be in the right place at the right time and make sure that you fully concentrate, and that's what he done, and he's got his team back in the game.
Lundstram, Kamara and Tillman, the three going off for Rangers. Cantwell, Jack and Raskin come on for them. A couple of changes for Celtic, O'Reilly and Abada coming on for Moy and Jota.
The whole complexion of the afternoon changes, because one goal gets you extra time, 2 goals gets you the unlikeliest victory that you can imagine, unless Celtic can take the blow, come back and score a third goal of their own. So we're now at a fascinating stage in the day's business.
Well, at 65 minutes, Andrew, we're now saying this is not a bad cup final.
Yeah.
In 40 minutes we're thinking, oh, this is quite poor. 20 minutes later we're thinking, wait a minute, 3 goals, a few chances. The teams are now having to go for it. Rangers in particular are now going to have to take a risk, made the substitutions. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more entertaining than we thought half an hour ago.
And you could see how big that goal was just from Alfredo Morelos' reaction to it, sort of running in front of the Rangers fans, trying to G them up, see if they can get another in this game to draw it level. You did predict goals, Hugh?
Yeah, I'm 2 away from my 5, and the scoring has not stopped for the afternoon, that's for sure. Another chance for Rangers here.
Yeah, Fashion Sakala driving into the Celtic box, but Joe Hart is quick out to gather at the feet of the Zambian winger.
A bit better from Sakala that time, very positive, knocks it past Taylor, and you can see he's got the pace. But Joe Hart read it really well. Good experienced goalkeeping there. He knew where the ball was going to go, anticipated it, and ended up making it a comfortable save. But very good goalkeeping.
Maeda, everyone says that he's a real favourite for Ange Postecoglou, but he hasn't had a great day by his very high standards. You would have thought that he might have been the one to go off to allow Abada onto the park, but it's Jota. So Maeda must still have something to play in this game, according to Ange Postecoglou.
Callum McGregor in a crossing position here for Celtic, trying to cut it back. That one is blocked, and trying to get the ball. A lot of it when it comes to Maeda is, as Connor Goldson heads the ball away, it's a lot of it is off the ball work that Ange Postecoglou really appreciates. Yes, of course he's got quality on the ball as well, but Ange Postecoglou talks about Dyson Maeda, just what he offers Celtic out of possession as well. Yeah,
he sets the tone, doesn't he, for the press. He knows it, as we said earlier on. Him going and really busting a gut to get the ball and keep it in play when a lot of players would have just accepted it goes out. He's not like that, and as I say, then when Rangers get the ball, he's the first guy that goes and puts them under pressure, and again everyone else backs him up. So yeah, and that's part of the reason, and I think that might have been. I mean, I don't think it would have been. I think Ange Postecoglou has already decided that Jota would be sacrificed, but I think he also knows that if you're 2-1 up, the one thing about Maeda will do, he will work back with Tavernier. He's not going to be shy in his work ethic, that's for sure.
I was going to ask you, how's the head this morning? Was producer Callum's leaving night last night?
Well, you took me to a place that wasn't for a 73-year-old man, that's for sure.
A popular bar in the West End. I'm not sure it would be the type of place that you would normally go to. There was genuinely one moment that I think will stick with me for the rest of my life, and it was at one point Rage Against the Machine song came on, Killing in the Name Of, very loud. It was actually, yeah, and the very loud. And there's an especially sort of aggressive part of the song that repeats over and over again. And I just turned over, and Hugh was standing there with his glass of red wine, looking about as if, what is this place? What is going on?
It was then I took me and my cardigan home.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing is, you'll listen, if you go in dressing rooms these days, you'll realise, you get a little bit old. Although, in saying that, the vast majority of songs I hear in dressing room now are all reworks of old songs. You know what I mean? And the young players don't know that. They don't know that. They think they're just new.
Greg Taylor has given the ball away. Cantwell
at the edge of the box. He goes down. It will be a free kick to Rangers in a dangerous position. Does look in a bit of pain there, Todd Cantwell too, and a booking to match. So Rangers with a good position just outside the box, just right of centre. So is this a Borna Barisic rather than a James Tavernier?
No, I think either or. But Celtic will know. Listen, it doesn't matter how good a team you are and how good a goalkeeper you've got. When you've got people who can execute a free kick from that distance, like Tavernier, like Barisic, I think particularly Tavernier, then you know this is dangerous, because you can set the wall up as best you like, but if he gets over it and into that top corner, there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Before anyone phones at 5 o'clock, yes, we have seen Morelos shove Taylor to the ground, and he has already been booked. So we can discuss that at 5 o'clock. But this is a wonderful chance for an equaliser.
Yeah, but VAR don't get involved in that as well, Hugh. It's only if it's a red card, so therefore it's not. They won't tell the referee, unless they thought it was violent conduct. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see now. And they said they're having a little conflab, Barisic and Tavernier. My guess would be Tavernier. I would to say that, even though it's maybe not a natural right footer, but I think as a captain and with his record, I think he's got to take responsibility here.
It's almost like
Morelos hasn't been booked yet.
Beg your pardon. When these two are over the ball, it's almost as good as a penalty. They have such fantastic ability from these set pieces. 22.
James Tavernier takes, and that one hits the Celtic wall, loops up, and Joe Hart just having to punch that behind for a corner. Better safe than sorry. And that one just came off the head of Cameron Carter-Vickers.
I love that for Carter-Vickers. I mean, I've seen so many players turning, don't want to get hit with the ball. He's like that. Nah, I'm standing. He's facing it. He's not turned away. He's not shied away from his responsibility. It's hit him in the head. He's cleared it. Superb defending.
That Rangers corner comes to nothing, and that is a real dangerous pass back the way that Nicholas Raskin has to just clear out the park, and then he was asking questions of why on earth there was a short pass played back to him in that position.
Cantwell's throwing himself into this game. It's one of these days where, as Michael Beale shows a lovely back heel there, one of these days where you can really become a hero.
Yeah, well, Cantwell looks as if he's playing more advanced than Tillman. So again, as I said, it looks as if Raskin and Jack are now sitting and Cantwell supporting Morelos, because he bought the free kick by being in an advanced position and taking the ball towards the Celtic back line, get brought down, and there's a sloppy pass again from Callum McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor gives it away to Cantwell. He plays it to Morelos out wide, the ball trying to play it across towards the penalty spot. A couple of Celtic players getting in there first, and
I think Celtic look a bit rattled by it all at the minute.
Yeah, a little bit ragged, particularly Cam McGregor, who's normally unbelievable with the ball, but he's given the ball away twice in the space of 10-15 seconds there, which is highly unlike him, and particularly in crucial moments.
Yeah, Rangers certainly in the ascendancy at the moment. That goal and those substitutions have helped so far as they look to get back into this game. 73 minutes just about on the clock at Hampden. Celtic winning 2-1. Kyogo with goals either side of half time, and it was Alfredo Morelos who pulled one back for Michael Beale's side.
If you were a gambling man, you would say there's more chance of a Rangers equaliser than a Celtic third goal at the moment. They look rattled.
It's a good challenge by Barisic to win the ball high up the pitch. Ryan Jack cuts in, the strike is blocked, and that one did look goal bound. It was going towards the bottom corner. Not sure whether Joe Hart would have got to it or not, but Rangers creating an opening, creating an opportunity there, winning the ball high up the park. Ryan Jack did well to cut in, but that one was blocked in the end.
I think it was Carter-Vickers again that blocked it, and then Greg Taylor did really well sliding in, and managed to get the block, ricocheting off the Rangers players for a goal kick. But you're right, with 15 minutes to go, Hugh, it'd be interesting to see how Celtic approach this game. And say normally Ange Postecoglou doesn't change the way he wants to play, but he might just have to slow the game down a little bit just to try to take the energy away from Rangers, because the substitutions, and that obviously that goal just before the substitutions come on, have certainly gave Rangers fresh impetus.
And more to come. Cholak is coming on, is coming on for Celtic, so a hectic last 15 minutes awaits.
Yeah, that certainly would be an interesting one. Coming on, because you'd expect that he would come on and play
Kyogo
through the middle. Does that mean Kyogo's number may be up?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I don't see him changing it, and putting Kyogo in a wide position like that. So I think it'll be a straight swap. And obviously Kovac, that's a maybe a riskier one for Rangers. Do they change it a little bit and risk Sakala and go with two up top? Maybe move Cantwell a little bit wider, who knows, but Cantwell so far has done well in that role he's come on. So or does he just a straight swap for Morelos? I think that'll be interesting to see what Michael Beale does here, but I can't see anything other than a straightforward swap for Kyogo.
Yeah, hasn't had a lot of game time really under Michael Beale. Antonio Cholak, he's had his injury problems, had a good goal scoring spell at the start of the season under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but just hasn't been able to oust Alfredo Morelos. And we have heard Michael Beale talk about the fact that he would play the two of them together. Celtic going to make two changes actually, Kyogo making way, and it will be O that comes on. A big contribution from Kyogo today. It won't be a hat-trick for him, but really has been the star for Celtic.
I'll tell you, it's very bold on the part of Ange Postecoglou, because still very much finding his feet at Celtic, and is it Iwata who's coming on as well?
Iwata is also going to come on as well.
Again, someone who's had very little game time, taking the place of Hatate, who has been outstanding for Celtic of late. So I think it's a very bold move by Ange Postecoglou. In fact, it's a real gamble on his part.
It's a big show of faith in Iwata as well, putting him on in this type of game. You'd expect that he would go into that deeper role in the midfield with where Callum McGregor normally sits, and McGregor would push on one, but it certainly shows the faith that Ange Postecoglou has in Tomoki Iwata, that he's willing to put him on at this point in the game. Yeah,
but we know that Ange Postecoglou doesn't like to change the way his team plays, but he may have tweaked it a little bit here, because obviously Cantwell's given Celtic problems playing in that advanced role, almost like a number 10, and obviously Kovac coming on now.
So Alfredo Morelos off for
and not happy
Cholak,
as you would expect. So listen, I don't have a problem with Morelos coming off. His face tripping him. You shouldn't be happy coming off. He wants to stay on. He scored a goal. He knows he's the main striker. So I get that disappointment. I've not got a problem with that. People sometimes make comment on it, but you shouldn't be happy about coming off anyway. It's different if you're maybe running the clock down and you understand that. But Kyogo knows that the job's done. But from Morelos' point of view, he will be frustrated a little bit because he scored. But I think Celtic might go that. Might be going two, sitting now with Iwata and McGregor, with O'Reilly just a little bit ahead. So I think there's a slight change in the way Celtic normally play, because I think they have to, because Cantwell has been influential.
With always obviously more of a physical presence than Kyogo. Is that something that can be vital when you're trying to see out a game, having someone that is maybe able to take the ball in and hold play up? Just seen pictures of Alfredo Morelos who kicks over a sort of, I don't even know,
it's just a
water carrier type thing. I've
been to see if Cholak scores whether he celebrates. But listen, that's the kind of player he is. You know that. You know the type of player that Alfredo Morelos is. He's a player that can divide opinion. But listen, he's done his job. He's scored, and it's now up to Colac to see whether he can get the equaliser. And you mentioned he doesn't give him a little bit more of a hold-up play, different from Kyogo, who's looking to play down the sides. And again, Ange Postecoglou might think, we're not getting the ball down the side just now. We've had Abada's not really touched it. Hughes hasn't come on, is he?
No.
So he's maybe thinking, listen, we need to be a little bit more into feet and into supporting play. And just change. And that's as I said before, that's the question of having good players to bring on as another yellow card. Is that to on Ben Davies?
Yeah, on Ben Davies there, it was just a long ball that was coming towards the two of them, and Ben Davies went down. Was he sort of was holding his chest? Sort of turned round, gave him a bit of an elbow in the chest. He saw him coming, and that is a booking for just a few minutes after coming on.
So he's had one card more than he's had a kick at the ball.
That is a yellow card. He's not looked at the ball and he's put his shoulder straight into Ben Davies. And again, just got to be a bit careful. Listen, you want to make an impact and you want to show the manager that you're going to give everything. But even a wee mistimed challenge or a ball, particularly when you get a high ball, players naturally lift their arms, and all it takes is maybe just one flying arm and you can pick up a second yellow card. So you don't want to be doing that at this stage of the game.
Cross comes in from James Tavernier. It's not dealt with, and Rangers still have the ball in the box. Fashion Sakala just running it out of play, but I think it was a fresh air swipe from Carl Starfelt that looked to cause a bit of danger inside the Celtic box, but Antonio Cholak was just unable to get a shot away when the ball fell to him.
I think Celtic have dropped out of this altogether, and the defending is getting more and more frantic. They really have a very difficult task here. 10 minutes of regulation time to go. Starfelt
there,
again,
who's just tried to clip the ball past Todd Cantwell in his own box. It's hit Cantwell in the chest, and Celtic managing to scramble it clear.
What you don't want to see at this time is your central defender looking like a bag of nerves now.
Yeah, I think he's tried to be. He made that little mistake earlier with the fresh air, as you mentioned, Andrew. And I think he's trying to show, well, listen, that's not phased me. I'll be composed here and I'll just dink a little ball out. Sure as fate. He's actually made a ricket of it, and he's very, very fortunate when the ball came off Cantwell. It fell straight back to his path. Just be a defender at this stage of the game. You've got 10 minutes to go plus injury time. Just be solid, reliable. You don't need to do anything other than being nice and disciplined as a defender.
Yeah, exactly 10 minutes to go in this League Cup final between Celtic and Rangers. 2 Kyogo goals for Ange Postecoglou's side. Alfredo Morelos, who's now been substituted off, got 1 back for Rangers. Are you surprised that with Rangers chasing a goal that Alfredo Morelos came off?
Not overly, just because, listen, managers like to, play a certain system in a certain way. Some people can say, listen, is it worth taking the risk and going 4-4-2? Maybe he thinks that Celtic have got too much quality in the middle of the pitch and you would be outnumbered. Who knows? But listen, it maybe also just thought something straightforward as Antonio Kolic can give him a little bit more freshness and a little, and Morelos has run his course. But you can see Morelos, as I said, frustration in the sense of how he reacts. But that's because he scored a goal and he knows he's a threat. As I said, he knows he's a threat. He's not always involved in the game. He hasn't been, one of these players is dynamic. But in and around the box, he can score goals. I mean, his record speaks for itself.
My concern for Celtic would be that they've simply dropped out of this in a meaningful fashion.
I think a bit of that's to do with Rangers, though. Hugh. I think the substitutions and the goal is definitely giving them the energy to take the game to Celtic now, and they believe now for the first time in the game that they can turn this around.
Well, it's all Rangers in the forward going sense. It's all Rangers, and Celtic have to stand firm. But in an attacking sense, they're out of the game at the moment. Celtic. Rangers coming up the park yet again.
Barisic with the cross. It's deflected into the arms of Joe Hart, who will take that and try and start an attack for Celtic. I fear I may jinx this now, but there's been a sort of refreshing lack of mention of VAR in this game so far.
Without doubt.
Hold on, we see if there's Maeda's on the play, but the flag will go, I'm sure, for offside. Yeah,
will be a free kick to Rangers. Maeda just straying offside.
Whatever happens now, people have to appreciate that Celtic had a 2-goal lead, looked very comfortable, and then lost a bad goal, and that did not look the same.
But just in a flash, Liel Abada is going to get booked for diving here. Actually, he knocked the ball past Ben Davies, was driving into the sort of right side of the Rangers box. He went down. Doesn't look as if he's really complaining either, Liel Abada, and he didn't need to go down there, did he? He'd knocked the ball by Ben Davies. There's absolutely no contact. You see that quite often from players sometimes, that they'll drag that leg to try and find the contact. It wasn't there. He goes down. And a yellow card. He's
trying to instigate it. He's putting his left leg out, and he knows that Ben Davies will be coming across him. And listen, if there is a contact, then it can be difficult for the referee. But there's absolutely no doubt that he's trying to influence the referee. It's a dive, and he deserves to be booked. And these are the situations. And to be honest, I don't really get why players do it, because you get VAR.
Yeah.
So therefore, the VAR would then say to the referee, listen, that was a dive.
Is it just a real subconscious thing that players aren't really switched onto that with VAR yet? If they are a player who tends to do that sometimes, their mindset won't have changed that quickly, that they'll think, if I don't go down here.
I think they anticipate the tackle. They think the tackle's going to come, so they're almost like going down, and they know that if the player does stick his leg out, even if they're falling, they'll fall over the leg and make contact with the leg, and therefore they'll get the free kick. But in that particular occasion, Ben Davies' foot was planted, and Liel Abada had went down. So again, no complaint, and you can tell the player got up a bit sheepishly and understands it, and as I said, it as a yellow card, there's no doubt about it. And Haksabanovic has now come on for Daisen Maeda.
Daisen Maeda applauds the Celtic support as he makes his way off the pitch, and Sead Haksabanovic will come on for the final few minutes of the 90. Fashion Sakala also making way And Scott Wright coming on for Rangers. Of course, he had a big involvement in the Scottish Cup Final last season against Hearts. He'll be hoping he can bag himself another Hampden goal.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's listen, when you come on to the stage of the game, you've got nothing to lose. Your manager's told you, listen, go and be positive, get yourself involved in the game, play high up the pitch, take a risk. You'll almost allow the Celtic players to go back and, in the game you call it cheating. It's not really cheating, but what you're saying is you don't need to run back, you can stay up the pitch. Although it looks as if Todd Cantwell's been the one that's been moved to the right for Sakala, which surprises me a little bit because I think he's been very good getting on the ball. But Scott Wright will now take up that role, I'm presuming.
Well, Rangers asleep there. Celtic take the ball off them in a dangerous area. The clock is ticking down. A third goal and we really all can go home, but apart from the hotline, of course.
Yeah, Celtic actually holding the ball in the corner at the moment. There is still 5 minutes of the 90 to go.
You don't often see Celtic doing that, Andrew.
Yeah,
no.
It's not quite the Ange Postecoglou way. He doesn't seem like the type of manager that would instruct his players to hold the ball in the corner. I think that's the type of things that players maybe just decide to do themselves if they feel that they're maybe under a slight bit of pressure. Rangers have had the better spell for a lot of the
20
second
minutes
half.
There's no doubt since Rangers scored they've been the team on the front foot. But again, listen, there's 5 minutes to go. There's been 9 subs, is there? 10 subs? 10 subs now?
Yeah, I think so.
So therefore you would expect probably at least 4-5 minutes injury time, so there could still be 10 minutes in this game. So I don't think you can keep the ball. I don't care who you are, you can't keep the ball in the corner flag for 10 minutes, that's for sure.
Well, Alan McGregor, I think Rangers went to take a free kick there, and the ball was a second. The ball was thrown onto the pitch by someone in the Celtic supporters. Alan McGregor just returning it to them with a bit of force.
Back to them, yeah. Frantic stuff.
Yeah, Rangers looking to attack now. It is going to be a free kick to Celtic there. Scott Wright can't quite believe a high foot. I think he's calling for there. Nick Walsh and Scott Wright's boot was very close to the face of Leila Bada there.
Yeah, it's dangerous play. It's a high foot. I mean, again, listen, at this stage of the game, players will question every decision the referee makes, but I don't think there's any doubt about that. That was quite a comfortable decision for Nick Walsh to make, and so far there's been nothing too contentious for the referee to be involved in, Hugh.
No, we are, as I said earlier, we have to understand here that we've had a slow start to the game. Then Celtic have built up 2-goal lead. They did look comfortable. Now they look anything but comfortable. VAR has had no part to play in the match whatsoever. The bookings that the referee has handed out have been perfectly justified, and now we're in a frantic finish to this match.
Yeah, Scott Wright trying to drive forward. They had 5 Celtic players around them. Celtic defenders just working hard to make sure they don't give Rangers any space in the final few minutes. Celtic currently 3 minutes plus injury time away from winning this, but the ball drops to Borna Barisic in the box. It goes under his feet, and he'll now try, could have looked to cross it in. He goes backwards now, and Rangers still trying to threaten in these final few moments. Borna Barisic with the ball on the left, the reverse pass to Scott Wright, who is being harried by a couple of Celtic players, and Leila Bada does well to not only take the ball away from Scott Wright but actually win the throw in as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if what happened with both Rangers players there, but they're both just lapses of concentration. Neither of them anticipated where the ball was going. Kolach in the first one,
I wonder whether he may have been offside if that had gone back. It looked as if because the ball came off Raskin and went to Cholak, who looked beyond the Celtic defence.
I don't think he was aware of that. And the ball was used, and then it comes to Barisic and he lets it roll under his foot. And 2 fantastic chances at this stage of the game. If either of them, take control of the ball there, they've got a shot at goal. So yeah, I mean, very poor from both of those players, but. Rangers definitely, have got a new lease of life. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, a chance for Celtic to potentially put this game to bed. Sead Haksabanovic cuts inside and goes one way, then the other. He's looking to get the shot away. It's saved by Alan McGregor, and the second attempt is blocked, and Celtic will get a corner. A real opportunity for Celtic to put the game beyond all doubt there. It was a wonderful pass in the build-up from Alistair Johnston to find Sead Haksabanovic. He had men in support as well, decided to go himself, and ends up winning a corner.
Well, the Celtic would certainly rather be up that end of the park than anywhere else at this moment. They may go into that corner, Jim, and try and stay there for a while.
Yeah, again, I think they'll have to stay in there for about 7 minutes. That would be my estimation. But I think they'll still take it short. Yeah, listen, it was really. I mean, Rangers have got to gamble, so there's always a chance that Celtic could capitalise on the counter attack. And Haksabanovic does really, really well. Conor Goldson's want to show him wide, which is the right thing to do. He has a good strike, and Alan McGregor gets his angle spot on, saves it with his legs, as goalkeepers do these days on a number of occasions. And then Goldson does really well on the rebound, gives away for a corner, but Celtic don't make the most of it. I think sometimes you're better just playing your normal game at time, and just going and playing the corner, but they've given it away and Rangers are back up the pitch, although Celtic managed to retrieve it.
Yeah, we'll find out how much injury time there is in a few seconds. I'm not sure the Celtic supporters can love Ange Postecoglou more than they already do, but what would winning this trophy do for him, do for the club?
I mean, I think for him again, it just reinforces his reputation in amongst the Celtic fans. That not only are his team title winners as they are at the moment, they're in charge of a title, but the fact is that they can come to these intense matches with the tension in the match, the importance of the match, and get over the line and come away with the trophy. So silverware is, we know, for both of these clubs, is demanded by the fans. And I think when if Ange Postecoglou manages to get to see it, it'll be interesting to see what the injury time is. If manages to get over the line here, then again it just cements his reputation even more with the fans.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of bookings in there from Nick Walsh. Certainly one of them was for
4 minutes
Ryan Kent.
added
4
on.
minutes added at the National Stadium. We are already 30 seconds into that. That, of course, is a minimum as well. There is going to be some more bookings for Nick Walsh here. It all seemed a bit unnecessary. It was a sliding challenge from Ryan Kent on Iwata. I think Ryan Kent was initially booked for that. There was sort of words, a few pushes exchanged between players. Alistair Johnston has been booked. I think Borna Barisic was maybe booked and all that as well. And I think there was another booking as well. So Nick Walsh certainly getting some good use out of his yellow card in the final stages, as O is unable to keep that ball in play.
It was an awkward one for him anyway, from O'Reilly. It didn't give him much of a chance.
It was a rugby pass. He was into touch, get it near the corner flag and get us up the pitch, which is not the worst thing you can do as a player at that stage of the game, where you just chip it into the corner flag and then try and press the game. And Rangers obviously naturally frustrated. Ryan Jack giving away a needless free kick. So I think is it a throw in he's given? I think it's a free kick, and Callum McGregor getting a bit of a knock. But they're just Celtic just trying to take the sting out of the game now and just being try to manage the game. They call it game management, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. Try and run the clock down, try and take knock the stuffing out of Rangers, and Rangers have to get the ball back. Celtic don't have to do anything. It's the first time you'll ever see an Ange Postecoglou team actually running the clock down.
Yeah, it's certainly not typical Celtic, but they'll be more than happy for this game to be stop-start for the final few minutes of injury time. Callum McGregor is down, getting treatment at the moment. Ange Postecoglou just looking relatively calm on the touchline.
Relatively.
As calm as you can be, I think, in a situation like this.
Underneath that warm jacket, I think his heart will be pumping.
Yeah, Callum McGregor looks as if he will be okay. He's going to come back on, and I think Celtic have used all their substitutes, so they wouldn't have been able to bring anyone on anyway. Right,
up the park go Rangers. They're over into the Celtic half, and this is the bugles are blowing, the sirens are wailing now.
Yeah, Ryan Kent driving at Alistair Johnston. A really good sliding challenge from Johnston, and that goes out for a throw into Rangers. Ryan Jack retrieving it quickly, throwing it into Borna Barisic. We certainly will go beyond 94 minutes because there has been a couple of stoppages since we went into injury time. There is around 1 minute left, but you'd expect there would be at least another one on top of that as the ball bounces through to Alan McGregor, who chests it down and just has to go long.
All sorts of non-Ange Postecoglou things going on now. Players are hoofing it up the park, never mind playing it to each other.
Yeah, the importance of the occasion issue. It doesn't matter the style of football now. It's all about getting over the line. They've got a minute to go, Celtic, to try and make sure that they hold on to this 2-1 advantage. And Rangers, have to show a little bit of composure. Difficult at this stage of the match, but Celtic have nicked the ball and could capitalise.
Yeah, they could get a goal themselves here because Sead Haksabanovic is running at Conor Goldson. He actually checks back. Celtic will play on. A huge chance here to put the game to bed, and Alan McGregor makes the save from Matt O'Reilly. And there is a booking for Todd Cantwell and all that as well. He committed a foul on the edge of the box. Nick Walsh did well, let the play continue, and Celtic, at one point you thought they would have been odds on to score because it really opened up for them. They had options O'Reilly and Abada. It was O'Reilly, but the shot just didn't have enough in it, did it? Yeah.
He's trying to give the goalkeeper the eyes here. Normally in a left-footed player you curl it to the far post, but he's tried to give Alan McGregor the eyes and just stick it in the near post, and McGregor's read it with an outstanding save. But from Celtic's point of view, it's perfect position. They've got a corner now. They can run the clock down, Andrew.
Yeah, they will do that. They'll hold the ball in the corner. You can see the Celtic fans behind the goal already celebrating. They feel as if this one is in the bag. 94 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. We'll see how long it runs after a couple of stoppages in injury time. Callum McGregor was down. Will Rangers have time to try and create an opportunity? Antonio Cholak, who hasn't really had the desired effect coming off the bench so far. Cholak, he's not seen much of the ball as the ball goes out for a throw in to Celtic. Alistair Johnson actually sliding in celebration there, I think. And the supporters on the Rangers end have actually already started to head out.
Yeah, it looks that way. But the show ain't over until the overweight lady sings. So they must keep going, Celtic, and try and get up into the Alan McGregor area of the ground.
Remember, we will have the open line after this as well. 01419511025 to get your thoughts. And could Celtic finish this off here? Sead Haksabanovic one-on-one with Alan McGregor and drags that shot wide. Celtic have had chances to get a third in this game. They haven't done it. And Rangers now desperately trying to get the ball up the park, but Connor Goldson just kicking it straight back to Celtic. And you've got to think that this one will be over in a matter of seconds.
What a chance that was.
Yeah, it's almost 96 minutes now, so I'm not quite sure where Nick Walsh. The other 2 minutes from I know it's a minimum of 4, but anyway, it looks as if it's all over now. I think Celtic will just throw the ball in the corner and Nick Walsh will blow the whistle.
You can see the anticipation from the Celtic fans, the Celtic players that are on the bench. They're just waiting for Nick Walsh to blow that full-time whistle, and it will be seconds away from Celtic winning the League Cup. Ange Postecoglou certainly thinks it's over, and it is over. Celtic have won the League Cup. Let's go back to Hampden with Gordon Duncan and the rest of the team.
Full time, Rangers 1, Celtic 2 for the 7th season. In the last 9, it will be green and white ribbons on the Scottish League Cup trophy. 22 trophies in 11 years reads the banner behind the goal in the Celtic end. And my goodness, the Celtic fans enjoyed that one. Yes, it got nervy in the second half, but in truth a double from Kyogo set them on their way to yet another piece of silverware. Ange Postecoglou punches the air in delight, and what a League Cup final we've just seen, Mark Wilson.
Oh, it was sensational. It was a bit drab in the first half, came to life just at the tail end there, but what a second half we've just witnessed there. Came to life when Kyogo put Celtic 2 up, and I think most days at that point thought that would be that. But to be fair to Rangers, they rallied and they took the game to Celtic. Celtic took their foot off the pedal. Rangers got back in it with Morelos' goals and then had control of the game for a long period in that second half. But then when it boiled down to the end, Celtic could have scored on a number of occasions just to make it a wee bit more comfortable. But for me, deserved winners today, Celtic.
Yeah, congratulations first and foremost to Ange Postecoglou and Celtic for a terrific win. They had to battle all the way for it, Gordon. Credit to Rangers. It wasn't the greatest first half. Goals change games. Kyogo gets it just before half time. You're thinking if Celtic get another one, then it's easy street. They'll go on and lift the cup. But all credit, once Kyogo got the second one, Rangers showed that character Michael Beale was looking for. Get back in the game, 2-1. But in the overall play, I think deserved Celtic to be champions.
Yeah, Mark Wilson, Rangers did enough to rock Celtic. They did enough to make it a cup final. You then look even at the end, Celtic could have scored a third or a fourth. Such was the nature of the open end to it, and I don't think over the 90 minutes there would be too many complaints from the Rangers fans, would there?
No, I don't think so. I thought Celtic, once they got their noses in front, looked a stronger side obviously, but that second goal really kick-started Rangers into life, and I think the Rangers fans departing the stadium at the minute all think, well, why did it take to 2 goals down to get our game kick-started? Why did it take that long to then change the full midfield? And at that time Celtic did look a bit shaky. It was funny how that second goal affected both teams, but to be fair, they stood strong, they saw it out, and then they picked Rangers off at times in the second half, and like I say, they could have made it more comfortable in the end.
Kyogo is the man that takes the acclaim of the Celtic fans. Over on the far side, Gordon Dalziel, he scores a double to win the League Cup last season. He scores a double to win the League Cup this season. He's the top scorer in the Scottish Premiership as Celtic close in on that. Not a bad signing.
Yeah, when you're a striker, Gordon, especially at a club like the size of Celtic and Rangers, it's all about scoring goals. That's when you become a hero. You know, you've got two guys sitting in front of us, McCoist and Sutton. They were the same. The bang, the fans remember it, they loved it. Kyogo has been sensational. Now, there's times when you look at him and you think he's not been involved in the game. His movement off the ball, we're here at Hampden witnessing it, and you've got a great view from up here. Some of his movement is absolutely brilliant. He's always got to cause problems. He always gets into the right places, and he got two very good goals to take. And I've got to say, the first one, Aaron Moy set it up. Second one, Moy was involved with Hatate. But it's all about, as a striker, putting yourself in the right place and putting the ball in the back of the net.
Well, we always say it's one of the biggest rivalries, if not the biggest rivalry in world football, and you know what that means. One side of the city goes home happy and the other far from it. The Rangers end is pretty much empty. The Celtic fan, not a spare seat to be had as the players go over and get their congratulations from the fans that turned out at Hampden this afternoon. Michael Beale has his Rangers players on the pitch. Some last minute words from him as they wait to go up and collect their runners-up medals. These Celtic fans, though, they'll party long into the night, I'm sure, and the trophy presentation at Hampden is coming up next.
After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line.
Yes, Celtic are about to get their hands on that League Cup trophy here at the National Stadium. There's a famous football saying in this part of the world that second in this city is nothing, and that's been reflected by the scenes here at Hampden. The Rangers end now completely empty. The Rangers players went up to collect their runners-up medals, which I'm not sure you're able to cherish too much when it comes on a day like this. The Celtic players wait, even experienced campaigners, players that have won things elsewhere, like Joe Hart. You could see what it's been meaning to him. He's been going round and roaring regularly towards the Celtic fans. They've enjoyed his reaction. The what's now become regular Kyogo dance after Celtic victories has an extra spring in its step this afternoon, and that noise you hear is because Celtic captain Callum McGregor is about to climb these famous old steps, like many Celtic captains have done before him, and get his hands on his third piece of silverware as the Celtic captain. I'm sure this one will mean just as much as the others. Many people pointing out in the run-up to this one the equivalent records between the sides, both in similar form. Is this a chance for Rangers to show that they can match Celtic's dominance? Well, not yet, not today. That's what we've seen on the evidence of this. Callum McGregor urging his teammates to join him. The man really who played a bigger part than any in this afternoon. Kyogo gets his medal, 2 goals for the second successive League Cup final. Not a bad record at all. Alistair Johnson gets his first medal as a Celtic player. He'll hope it's the first of many. Carl Starfelt, many people discussing this week, could he potentially give Rangers an opening? Well, up until about the 70th minute mark, he was arguably one of Celtic's most solid performers. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Matt O'Reilly off the bench. Hugh Keevins always talks about how this is a squad game. He was joined on the field by the likes of Haksabanovic and Iwata as Celtic saw this one through to the end, and they are about to enjoy their moment. It's about to be silverware number 17 for Callum McGregor. Quite the CV, and you just wonder if these ones mean that extra bit more, given that he is now the man that gets to lift it first. He's the Celtic captain. He just builds up that last layer of suspense. The Celtic fans can't wait to see it, and he is poised and ready. I'm a bit worried about these pyrotechnics and the effect they'll have on Gordon Dalziel, but we'll look after him. At least Hugh Keevins is in the warmth of the Clyde One Super Scoreboard studio. But here he goes. Callum McGregor lofts that League Cup trophy in the air. The 17th time he's won silverware as a Celtic player, the third as Celtic captain, and continues Celtic's period of relative domestic dominance. And you can see what it means to everyone. Mark Wilson, you've experienced this as a fan, you've experienced it as a player, and I'm going to take a guess that the feeling doesn't wear off.
No, certainly not. I mean, I'm here and I'm feeling like I'm missing out because I love being down there. But what you've got to say is the connection with this team to the fans is something extraordinary now. I think that came from the manager being appointed and how they feel about him, but it's individuals. You saw them there doing a lap of honour before the trophy was presented, and the atmosphere, and they're just about to embark in another. But what a terrific feeling for those players, the ones that have been a success last year, but some who are getting their first taste of success in silverware at Celtic. When they sign for this club, they know that they have to deliver, and at the first time asking for some of them, they've joined a winning team with a winning mentality, who, even when things aren't going their way, like that second half there, they still find a way to win, and that's the most impressive thing about this side.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many trophies, how many medals you win, the next one has such a special feeling, and Callum McGregor will know that. Obviously there are other players there, their first taste of silverware, but I just think it's the greatest feeling in the world, Gordon. Any player that's been in this position, I'll tell you, to go up onto that podium with your teammates, knowing that you achieved a great bit of success and lift that trophy and go and celebrate it. Mark's right, the relationship between Postecoglou, his players and these fans just now are absolutely incredible, and they'll certainly enjoy their night.
And now it's over to you. What did you make of that, Celtic fans? How happy are you to see the green and white ribbons on that League Cup trophy? Give us a call, 01419511025. Of course, Rangers fans, what did you make of it? Where did it go wrong for you today? Where did you fall short? Because it takes two to tango on days like this. But I'm sure we're going to hear first of all from Celtic fans who are absolutely delighted at what they've witnessed. And Hugh Keevins, to bring you in from the studio to draw on your experience of this fixture, of this competition, of this team. I wonder if Mark and Gordon are onto something. You can leave the debate about where this team ranks and where Ange Postecoglou ranks, because that story's not finished yet. But I can't imagine there's been any greater connection between fan, team and manager as this Celtic club have got right now.
Ange Postecoglou came into a club, Gordon, that was in crisis. They had not only suffered the loss of 10 in a row, they had imploded in that season. Then there was the resignation of the newly designated chief executive, and all over the place Celtic looked to be struggling. And in his first 6 games, Ange Postecoglou lost 3 of them. But those 6 games were as long as it took for him to work out Scottish football. He has been utterly dominant since Game 7. And the importance of today, point number 1, Celtic retain the trophy. Point number 2, Celtic inflict the first defeat of the Michael Beale era at Rangers, because he had come in and the only points he dropped in the league were against Celtic in the 2-2 draw at Ibrox. But now the Celtic fans will say to their counterparts on the south side of the city, well, the Michael Beale revolution did not start at Hampden as you thought it would. Kyogo will obviously go down man of the match because of 2 goals in a final for the second year running, Gordon. But for me, Cameron Carter-Vickers was absolutely outstanding. A terrific block in the first half to prevent a Rangers goal, and then solid and secure in everything that he did. This is a trophy win for a Greek-Australian manager, a Japanese who scored the 2 goals that won the cup, and by football standards, an American who was the dominant player at the back for Celtic. A cosmopolitan achievement, Gordon.
Jim Duffy, how do you sum this one up? Again, you've seen this site many times, but what does this one mean?
Yeah, I think from Celtic's point of view, I think they deserve to win it. I think that for 70 minutes they were absolutely the dominant team. Rangers scored that goal and then made the substitutions, and then they had a real goal, all credit to them, in the final 20 minutes, and they put Celtic under pressure. Although that Matt was saying, then, you know, it's the ideal situation for Celtic, because you know that Rangers have to risk, leave space in behind, and Celtic should have capitalised with 2 unbelievable chances to score, to put the game to bed. But you need different qualities to win trophies, and Celtic showed all of their qualities. It wasn't a classic football match for most of the first half. Second half opened up more, but the were resilient, they were dominant, and I agree 100% with Hugh. I thought Carter Vickers was immense defensively. He's exactly what you want. He's almost old school defender, but he is good with the ball as well. But overall, listen, it just keeps reinforcing how what a significant signing Ange Postecoglou has been for Celtic. No one had ever heard of him, Gordon, before he came to Celtic. There was a lot of doubters. People were kind of the jury was out, but he has absolutely been a magnificent manager. The style of football, but more importantly, winning football, winning trophies time after time, and this is another one to add to his very, very impressive CV.
I mean, still, Mark Wilson, I think this is now the second lap of honour that Celtic have gone on, this time with the trophy, and we speak about that relationship, that bond, and the guys are picking, like a man of the match, for instance, but when you look through that whole team, I'll try and do it quite quickly, but at a time when Celtic are all over the place in goal, they bring in Joe Hart, who brings a bit of stability, lots of experience. You see what today makes of him. They've got a very popular right back who moves on in January, but all of a sudden they find another in Alistair Johnson, who wins his first piece of silverware. The guys have covered Carter Vickers. Greg Taylor's one of the most improved players in Scottish football in recent seasons. I've discussed Callum McGregor's trophy haul. You've got Kyogo's goals. You've got the flair. I'm clearly not going to run through every single member, but there's a reason that the depth of feeling from the Celtic fans to this squad of players runs so deep. It's because there's so many of them that contribute in a positive way.
Well, that's the thing. Ange Postecoglou, you touched that there. He came into the club where the club was at the lowest it's been for a long time. The disconnect between the club and the fans was pretty significant, and he built from the bottom up. But he realised that he had some gems in his squad, but he really had to build a squad strong enough to compete in all fronts. Now that sounds easy to us, but it's incredibly hard to do, because you need to get your recruitment right. Now, it's not just Ange Postecoglou. He's obviously got a team behind him that's helped him in that respect, but he's got it spot on more often than not. So it's an incredible, 18 months or so he's been here, maybe a wee bit longer. What he's built, what he's got in reserve, and what's to come really for the future. Trophy after trophy. Got the first one. The league looks like it's a certainty, and he'll be looking to add that Scottish Cup also.
In Gordon Dale, this competition in particular has been very special for Celtic. It often can become the first part in a treble. There's a bit of a distance to go before we find out if that's the case, but 7 times out of the last 9 seasons they've come here. We know the way Scottish football works. We know Celtic have the biggest budget. We know that they should win lots of silverware, but to do it with that level of consistency, it's very hard to find fault in that level of achievement.
Yeah, and also, Gordon, they weren't at their sparkling best today. I highlighted it. 31 minutes before they get their first corner kick, they get the goal just on half time. They know, as much as they take the plaudits for the style of football, they know how to win football games, and that's an absolute craft to the manager, the way he sets everything out, his substitutions. He takes a guy who scored 2 goals off a cup final today, and still makes the substitutions that make impact. He's been absolutely terrific for this club, there's no doubt about it.
Don't forget, you can get in touch 01419511025. Give us your thoughts. You can tweet us as well at Clyde SSB. So please do get in touch. Yes, it's a bit of a disrupted open line. We've had the trophy presentation, which has taken up a fair bit of time. We're going to hear from the managers. I hope Gabriel gets the chance to speak to them. I'd imagine he will get the chance to speak to Michael Beale certainly very soon, and Ange Postecoglou should follow in the not too distant future. So the open line is here, 01419511025, and we'll get your thoughts on today's League Cup final after these.
The games are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboards open line.
The dust is finally starting to settle at Hampden after yet another blockbuster meeting between Rangers and Celtic, another blockbuster cup final, and another one that ends with green and white ribbons on that trophy. I can't promise the dust will settle in households and pubs across Glasgow and the West for quite some time yet, but the Celtic fans are finally starting to make their way out of the National Stadium. Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are here, Jim Duffy and Hugh Keevins in the studio, and we'd like to welcome you onto the show. So come on, 01419511025. and let us know what you made of it. Let's kick things off with Alec, who's a Celtic fan. Sum up your feelings tonight, Alec. No, Alec is not there, in fact. Let's go to Barry. Barry, sum up your feelings tonight.
How you doing, pal? All right?
Good, thank you.
Basically, is Mark there?
Yes, everyone's listening, Barry.
How you doing, Mark? I'm Michael McLinch's pal. I used to do the ball boys and that a way back in the day when Michael was played for Celtic.
Oh, you'll get a good look at Mark Wilson if you're in charge of the ball boys. He used to operate. He used to operate the same bit of the stadium.
What I can remember is it was me and Scott Cuthbertson and Aidan McGideon. I remember Mark used to do the programmes and get the pies in a half time that for us.
That sounds a bit. Barry, listen, as much as I admire your trip down memory lane, how do you feel after today?
Well, basically that's what I'm phoning up for. Basically it was an all over, a beautiful game. It was a game of beautifulness, and Celtic were continental when they could have been instrumental with the eurythmics of Ange Postecoglou's tactics. But all in all, I feel as if Celtic gave what they could have done on the day, where if you turn up or you don't turn up, then you're cabbaged.
Quite the philosophical take there from Barry. I mean, Gordon and Mark, it's. I think when you're here, we spend lots of Saturdays in the studio. Obviously, when you're here, you feel the momentum. It whacks you in the face, Mark Wilson, and it's incredible how goals can change games. Celtic, at the moment they go 2 up, just before and just after, it could have turned into a really, really stylish afternoon for Celtic. Then Rangers get their goal and everything changes and it becomes a bit nervy, and then Celtic ride out and gone to win. So even within the 90 minutes, you wouldn't grudge Celtic the win, but there's still that roller coaster, and Barry feels that Celtic turned up.
Well, they did to the most extent, but you're right, Gordon, when Celtic went 2 up, I think most is in this stadium, and including the Rangers fans, who were quiet obviously at that point, just thought, well, that's it, Celtic have got enough quality to probably go on and nick a third. But they just took their foot off the gas a wee bit, and you've seen Rangers gaining more territory, and that was a big thing. Now, any team in the world, when you start creeping back towards your own goal and you let the opposition throw balls into your box, you always run the risk of losing something, and you could just see it coming, that Rangers were getting more and more chances. Kent hits the post and then they get the free kick, and you thought, oh, Celtic just need to be careful. When they score, then you could see Rangers, the belief coming into them. Celtic, I wouldn't say they wobbled, but they weren't at their sparkling best. They were giving the ball away cheaply, and that was Rangers' best chance of getting in the game. But as the game wore on, obviously the substitutions that Ange Postecoglou can bring on then stretch a game again. Especially Gordon, again, if you take it in sort of segments, Rangers appear to wake up, if you want to call it that, around, what was it, around the 60th, 70th minute mark, which now we know is just too late. It feels very dramatic in the stadium, and in the end, over my left shoulder, the Rangers fans might think that we've got a real chance here, but in the end, we now know that it was too little, too late.
What impressed me about Celtic today, I didn't think they were at their attacking best, Gordon, but go back to that goals change games. 2-0, we think it's comfortable. 2-1, all of a sudden Rangers get that lift and they make the substitutions and they get the grip of the game for the next 10. Now, Celtic, as much as you talk about midfield to front and how dynamic they are and the way they go about and score goals, they had to go and do the ugly side of the game for 10 minutes to get everything settled down. The guys highlighted at Hugh and Jim in the studio about Carter Vickers. I thought he was brilliant. I thought Starfelt worked brilliantly with him. They too had to defend today for that 10 or 12, 15 minutes just to settle everything down, and they achieved that. And then Celtic just gradually again, we know how good they are, got a grip of the games. Rangers were throwing bodies forward, they had to take the chance, and Celtic were picking them off and probably should have scored another goal.
And again, Mark, up until that point where momentum shifted, it all got a bit nervy for Celtic. The control that someone like Rio Hatate brings to the team. I know you were waxing lyrical about him during the match. Yeah, I mean, just seeing it in the flesh, and from the vantage point we've got, I mean, the guy's quality is unbelievable, because when it was scrappy in that first half, he was the one that looked head and shoulders for me above the rest. He was always looking to play the forward pass. There was one that we were chatting about where he
he's running, back to Carter Vickers. He plays it and he whips it round the corner into his front man. Now, technically, it was outstanding. And I was quite surprised that Postecoglou took him off. I thought he was head and shoulders above any midfielder on the part. I thought McGregor did a good job, but Hatate, so important once again for Celtic.
But the problem, I go back to, Mark, is the belief that Ange Postecoglou has in his players. He takes off a guy that scores 2, and Hatate, who is probably terrific in the middle of the park, energy setting up the second goal, but he's got such belief in what's coming on for the bench as well, and that's what makes him so strong.
Yeah, look, Jim Duffy, this is not a new point I'm about to raise, but it keeps rearing its head when you've got those options, and it doesn't weaken you at all. You would even go beyond the guys that came on, and look, loads of Celtic players on the bench that could still have contributed. So it's that squad game that we mentioned prior to it.
Yeah, that's what I said at the very start, Gordon, before a ball's kicked. People going about a starting 11, but I think, as I said, it's something that's getting less and less important in the top level football, because the squads are so strong. And we saw Celtic in the latter stages of the match, as the guy said, both Haksabanovic and O'Reilly had fantastic chances to score, and without Celtic being brilliant, they still created at least half a dozen chances in a cup final derby match. It's incredible. And obviously Kyogo manages to get the goals, and he's going to be he's getting the accolades, which is rightfully so. And Rangers, to be fair as well, their substitutions did make a difference, but they come on at a pivotal moment when they just scored. So I think they threw everything at Celtic. But overall, over the balance of play over the game, Celtic were the better team, deserved to win, and I don't think too many people could argue about that.
Let's bring in Henry, who's a Celtic fan, on the line. Henry, how would you sum up your feelings after that?
I'm really down the dumps.
Sorry?
Because I'm really down the dumps.
Why?
I'm only kidding. I actually thought Celtic were actually fun. For about 60 minutes, they thought were fantastic. I thought when Rangers scored their goal, we panicked a wee bit. But after 90 minutes, over the 90 minutes, I thought we were a far better team. And on the panel, people and whoever phones in keep on saying that Rangers are getting closer to us. I don't see it, because we're 9 points clear. That's us won the first trophy of the year, and I think Michael Beale has got a wee bit of credit for. He's not done nothing yet. He hasn't done anything yet. We're 9 points. We're going further with the goals. We've won the first trophy, and I don't see why people keep on praising this man. He's done okay. To me, the teams he's played is the teams he should have beaten. So I don't see why people keep on saying this about this man.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Keevins, look, I guess this comes from a place where Celtic weren't beating those teams before, and now they've started beating them and they've matched Celtic's points tally. That's where the praise comes from. However, tonight, I don't think you would grudge Henry or any of the other Celtic fans their moment to come on and mention that this was an important game in terms of psychology and markers and proving your dominance, all that sort of stuff.
It's a blow for Michael Beale, without question. And the other concern for him, once he gets over the blow, is that Celtic didn't play well at Ibrox for 90 minutes, but got a draw that many people believe cemented their league title win because it maintained the 9-point gap. Celtic didn't play well for 96 minutes today, but still beat Rangers to win the cup. Therefore, those who would rush to say Michael Beale is in, therefore the balance of power will shift, have been given cause to think again, because even when playing well below their best at times, Celtic have got the draw at Ibrox, got the win at Hampden, and Ange Postecoglou remains the dominant figure in the city of Glasgow.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I've got to say about Michael Beale, I look at that, I think he'll be honest enough to say, yeah, there's still a gap. Of course there, I think everybody recognises that. The difference for me, Gordon, I highlighted it before the game. Ange Postecoglou probably, you take McGregor out the squad, he had most of his signings out there today, on the bench as well. Michael Beale signed 2 players since he came into the club. It's a rebuilding job. He needs a bit of time. This was a wee opportunity today to try and get some silverware. Celtic were too good for him. Michael Beale will recognise that. He's not a silly man. I said wait to the summer, let him get some, the transfer window open, revamp the team, get some players out the door, get new fresh faces in. Then next year he's hoping to go and try and narrow that gap, because there certainly are a gap between Celtic and Rangers just now. Nobody's kidding themselves on with that.
And to be fair, Mark Wilson, not only will Michael Beale recognise it now, he said it earlier in the week. He said that win or lose, come Monday morning, we know we've still got improvements to make.
Yeah.
These things are going to hurt. You want to win cup finals rather than lose them, as I go on stating the obvious.
Yeah.
But at least it will confirm to him and his employers and anyone else that there is still work to be done.
Of course there is. He was pretty open about that at the start of the week, and he'll realise it on today's performance. But I'm the one that thinks that this was a free hit, like Daz said today, for Michael Beale as well. I mean, he's been here for 3 months now. A telling thing was his 2 signings. He didn't play his 2 signings today.
Mark, by saying a free hit, let me clarify something. I'm saying even if he lost today, which he did, he's not going to come under pressure. That's what I was trying to go over. Yes, I totally understand. When you're playing for, if you're a manager, Rangers or Celtic, you have got to win trophies. You've got to win these games. That's what the fans deserve. But I think that Michael Beale deserves a bit of chance to do what Postecoglou done, get the transfer. I'm not going to say he's got to be successful, but at least give him the opportunity to get the transfer window.
Henry, how do you feel about Ange Postecoglou tonight? Keep it clean.
I'm trying to think. I just think the man's really done well in the 18 months of thing. But today, it's a cup final where Celtic really didn't need to win it. I'm glad they did win it, but Rangers really had to win it today to put a wee point across to everybody. But they didn't seem to do it, and that's going to be a lot. That's going to hurt a lot of Rangers fans tonight. That's the thing. They're going to, because everybody's bummed them up. Everybody in the media, papers, etc., bummed them up to do this, and they had a chance today. In the 20 minutes, maybe in the second half, they could have hammered, they could have punished Celtic, but they didn't. And so there will be a lot of disappointed Rangers fans out there, like saying this, that, and the next thing. I mean, was it last week he gave up the league? They're saying they're 9 points behind Celtic, so the league really a finish. So right now, Rangers really only could win. I know 9 points is it's a big gap. It's not a great gap. If Celtic lose 2 games, Rangers could still win it. But the only thing the Rangers have got to look forward to now is the Scottish Cup. Is that good enough?
We'll have to find out, won't we, in due course in the coming months. For Ange Postecoglou, Jim Duffy, it clearly got tense. We're slightly to the right of the halfway line, if anyone cares, so we're slightly closer to the Celtic fans, and there was undeniably a nervousness when Alfredo Morelos got that goal and Rangers started to pour bodies forward. You just always get the feeling that Ange Postecoglou is probably the least worried out of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you've got complete faith in your philosophy and your style of play and your players, then you are relaxed, and he gives that persona, and I think a manager has to give that persona at that stage of the match. If he looks nervous, he's going to transmit to the fans and the players, so he has to stay calm and stay focused. And as the guy said, he makes big calls with the substitutions. You're taking off your striker who scored 2 goals, you're taking off one of your midfield players who's been one of the best players on the pitch. But he does it because he's got complete faith in the players he brings on, and I think again that sends a positive message to the supporters and the players. And that's another part of the management. It's not all about shifting players around. It's about how you promote yourself in these tense moments when everyone else is a bag of nerves. The manager's not. And I think, as I said, there was a little spell for 10 minutes where one Carter Vickers came in Carter Vickers Starfelt, and he miscued it, and then he tried a little dink out, and then Celtic tried to keep the ball in the corner flag. It was only 85 minutes, and you think yourself, that's quite unusual. But then they went back to playing, if you want to call it, their normal style. Rangers had the free kick, and Tavernier hits Carter Vickers in the wall and stuff like that, and there was a couple of moments where one went under Kolac's feet and then under Baricic's foot. But overall, they never tested Joe Hart. I can't remember Joe Hart really having a save to make in the 96 minutes.
And I wonder, Jim, if because this is what happens on days like this. You go from the micro points about this pass and this finish and this goal, and then it sort of feeds into a bigger discussion about gaps and markers and how much work still to be done. And it's funny because we're just seeing replays of the 2 Celtic goals, and they are the embodiment of what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do to the Celtic team. And I guess on the other hand then, that stuff is not quite there for Michael Beale yet, because he's not had as many windows, he's not had a pre-season. Will he ever get there? Only time can answer. But Celtic are settled in what they're doing at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, but he's been there longer, as Postecoglou. His recruitment and the style that he wants to play, and Rangers have got to back Michael Beale when in the summer with the style he wants to play. I think that Rangers need more options in that front area, because their key players, I feel that Ryan Kent again underperformed on the big stage. I don't think Sakala did well. But if you looked at Rangers bench, those are areas really that he would struggle to change to make a significant difference. So I think he needs to get those players. With the Celtic, as you see Haksabanovic coming on and O'Reilly coming on, and as you say, they've got so many other players on the pitch. Abada, they if those, well, if you want to call it, starting players are not at their creative best, then Celtic have every bit as good an option, slightly different styles of play to come on, whereas Rangers don't. So Michael Beale has to address that in the summer if he does want to try and close the gap. But Ange Postecoglou has said that that I think his first few signings have been so important, and that's given the Celtic board the complete faith in him that his recruitment and the players he wants to bring in will make Celtic even stronger, and that's been the case.
And I have to say, watching Ange Postecoglou, he went over to join the TV companies to do his post-match discussion, and because I know the context, I get what the joke probably was. I think Ali McCoist would have been talking about giving him a piggyback to Leeds or wherever else, because he's made those comments. But let me tell you, watching Ange Postecoglou climbing onto Ali McCoist's back out of context, it was quite something for us up here. I thought we were about to get a first in Scottish football, but it is a family show, Hugh Keevins.
I will say this to you, Gordon. Ange Postecoglou is now at Henrik Larsson's level. There are people, Michael Beale among them, who would gladly drive him to Glasgow Airport just to see the back of him now, because in Ange the Celtic supporters trust, in Michael the trust today diminished ever so slightly for the Rangers fans.
Let's bring in Paul, who's a Celtic fan. How good does today feel, Paul?
Oh, hi, how you doing? Afternoon, everybody. It feels good. It feels good, but don't get me wrong, it was a bit squeaky bum at times. But what I must say is, I think the Rangers players and the coach and the management on the Celtic team talked to them all through the week. I never heard much from the Celtic players, but I heard plenty from the Rangers camp, which I think is kind of backfired on them.
I really don't think that affects players. I'm quite happy to believe that Kyogo, Hatate, Maeda, Jota have no idea what Fashion Sakala called Celtic. And I don't think it impacts on them. They play their football, which is the Postecoglou mantra. Celtic play their football. And if they play their football, Ange Postecoglou believes that's enough. What Fashion Sakala said, or others said, about being better than Celtic or referring to Celtic by a derogatory term, that's for fans. That doesn't affect players.
Well, sure, it's not really for fans when they're commenting in the paper and the media spouting it. But what I will say, that I buy, but is how good was CCV today? The guy was outstanding. I think he actually saved the game for Celtic today.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Jim Duffy backed me up, and the guys at Hampden are underlining it. Cameron Carter-Vickers, in everything that he did, was an outstanding defender, whether it was blocking a chance to score or just being ultra reliable at the centre of the defence when Celtic had lost their way in the game. I know Kyogo gets all the headlines because goal scorers who win cup finals always do and will forever, but Cameron Carter-Vickers for me was the best man on the park for Celtic.
Hatate gets a headline for me. I thought Hatate was outstanding, and I can't call the man of the match between Hatate and CCV. The two of them for me were just standouts from the both teams. I thought they were outstanding.
Yeah, Mark Wilson, it's hard because we mentioned that there was a momentum shift and Hatate went off, so in terms of the overall picture it's maybe a bit more difficult, but for the time that he was on and the contribution he made, it was quite impressive, wasn't it?
Hatate, yeah, I mean, unbelievable in the first half where people were careless on the ball, all over the pitch. He was the one that just looked strong, always just looking for that forward pass and then continuing his run. And then when you look at the second goal, you know how he starts it, but then how he continues his run into the box and then has the quality and the composure to get his head up. He's a terrific player, a real driving force, a real fan's favourite, and like Celtic will be bracing themselves in the future for big bids on this boy, because he's the next big one to go.
Thank you very much to Paul. It's 01419511025. It's Twitter at Clyde SSB. Hopefully we'll get the chance to hear from some of the managers coming up next.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line.
Still time to get your thoughts in after the League Cup final, which saw Celtic lift the trophy after a 2-1 victory against Rangers. I've got a funny feeling we'll stick with this topic for much of the week ahead, but by all means get your thoughts in right now and let us know what you're feeling straight afterwards. Quite often when emotions are running highest, of course, happiness on the Celtic side of things, and maybe a bit of disappointment, sadness, frustration, anger, or whatever you want to call it on the Rangers side of things. Rangers fans, why not let us know? We've already heard from some happy Celtic fans praising where it went right for them and praising Ange Postecoglou and Kyogo and Cameron Carter-Vickers, or CCV as the last caller called them. So GD and MW are here if you want to get your thoughts across. HK and JD are in the studio as well. 0141 951 1025. Jim is a Rangers fan on the line. Jim, how do you feel after that?
How you doing, guys? I'll try to keep my emotions in check here a wee bit predictable how I felt as if I was going to feel as soon as I saw the team. I says to guys all week, I says, why buy new players to then not play them in occasions like this and go with the tried and trusted when the trusted have proven time and time again that they can't be trusted? I just don't get it, and it was just like watching a rerun of an old movie that you knew that was going to harm.
I think that's a really interesting point, Gordon Dalziel, because if Rangers were 9 points clear at the top, if Rangers had been the dominant side, then Michael Beale sticking with the guys that have gone before would make sense. But if you have to sign Nicholas Raskin and Todd Cantwell because you are lacking something, why would you not play them?
Well, I agree with Jim. I made that point.
Or one of them, anyway.
Yeah, I made the point. I was convinced this week that Raskin was certainly playing in the middle of the park. You go into the January transfer market and you bring in two players that you've chased and desperate to get. You're right. There's a cup final. This is why you went and got them, to improve your team, to make them better. I look at that Rangers team just now, and for instance, I looked at middle of the park. Lundstrom, Kamara, never get involved in the game at all. I thought it needed. Rangers look like they need a bit of freshening up, a bit more energy into their team. And I looked at Tillman today. He was a big plus at the start, but after a while I'm thinking, is he 100% fit? Because he didn't look comfortable at all. So he took a gamble on that, and I can totally understand that. But I was surprised, especially Raskin for me. I think he's got a lot to offer. He's a quality player. It's a cup final against Celtic. I was so surprised he wasn't on the pitch.
I mean, Jim, as a Rangers fan, you had your moments, clearly. I mean, Ryan Kent hit the post. That sort of started things. You got your goal. You were pressing forward. Did it all just come a bit too late then? Is that the frustration?
For me, definitely. I thought the game was there. We lost goals. I mean, the marking was shocking, and we switched off at 100%. Lundstrom couldn't even go in for 50-50s because he knew it would finish him. But even Beale got lucky with the subs because they were coming on at 2-0 down. So they came on, managed to get a goal back, which made it better. But what's the point of signing new signings to make their old firm debut, try to change a game at 2-0 down? Sign guys to enhance your first 11 and have an impact. I mean, all I heard is, they don't know what it's about, The Man U, the Real Madrid, Barcelona buy players and then not play them because they don't know what it's about. Get them in there and let's see what they can do. Well, these guys have constantly let Rangers down in these kind of games. And it was just a rerun of an old movie, for me anyway, personally.
I think the matter, and Jim makes terrific points, I think the matter comes down to belief in the players. Ange Postecoglou brought on who's hardly had any game time for Celtic, and Iwata, who again has hardly had any game time, but he believes in them, they trust him, and he takes off the 2-goal scorer, Kyogo, and he takes off Hatate, and Mark Wilson is simply drooling over the performance that Hatate gave in the game. But Ange Postecoglou says, and he backs up Jim's point, I brought them here, I believe in them, and I trust them to get us over the line. So I do share Jim's bewilderment that you signed 2 players in the January window, players who have been very favourably received by the Rangers supporters. Michael Beale, therefore, in the immediate aftermath of this cup final, stands accused of picking the wrong team.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jim Duffy, I was going to say everyone's clever, everyone's a great manager after the game, but to be fair to Jim and everyone, really, I think inside Hampden, I was sort of saying this beforehand. I'll give a nod to our esteemed colleague Kenny Miller, who, I'll hold my hands up, surprised me on Friday night. He said he didn't think Raskin would start, and I found that really surprising. Fair play to Kenny, he got it right. But as Mark Wilson says, these were, especially him, this was a high profile signing. It was one that Michael Beale waxed lyrical about. He's spoken many times about him, players like him being the future. Why did that future not begin today?
Yeah, I mean, again, as Jim said, you know, the call there, I think he's right in what he said. Not so much the fact that, you know, where you play Raskin or Cantwell. The fact is that those Rangers players who had started the match, I think was it 7 of them or something, had started the last cup final in 2019. So therefore, you know, from that point of view, they had let the club down before in terms of their performance levels. So yeah, I mean, you bring in new players to improve it. And when Michael Beale brought those players in, he said that. I mean, I think he said himself that he needed to get different qualities and freshness and you know, a different approach to playing and be more adventurous. So I wasn't so much the starting lineup today. I just felt at half time Celtic had just scored, had the better chances. Rangers only had really one half chance when the Carter Vickers clearance. So I felt at half time was the right time to do it, and I think it was too little too late. Although Rangers just scored, but Jim was right, the substitution were going to come on at 2-0, so you get a wee bit of a break at the fact that they scored there. But for me it should have been at half time, because you've then got to give it a real go. So yeah, I understand me, maybe not think they're entirely up to speed for a cup final, who knows, in terms of fitness and that, but certainly for me, half time, you've got to throw everything at it and see if you can turn that around.
Jim, again, as a Rangers fan, are you the type that looks at today? Oh, Jim's gone, my apologies. I thought he was still with. He's had enough. He came on, said his piece, and to be fair, some great points well made, and noticed a lot of things, particularly pointing out that those subs were due to come on anyway when the game was 2-0. I don't think we're quite going to manage to speak to Michael Beale in time. Certainly not Ange Postecoglou. He had more media duties to do as the winning manager, certainly extended. Although I was having a little look down at the TV company to see if Michael Beale would go and join Chris Sutton on the panel there and shake hands and have a post-match
I think he's going to skip that one.
But I don't think that has taken place unless I've missed something. So, I mean, this is the unique nature, I guess, of this fixture, Hugh, because Michael Beale right now will be analysing the 90 minutes, probably talking about his players, about where their body position was or why they didn't match this runner or whatever. And then Monday morning it maybe comes a bit more down to how big is this gap, how do we start to bridge it.
I think Jim, the last caller, will perhaps set the agenda for the week. I think people will ask of Michael Beale, while you're doing your pre-match assessment, can you tell us why you signed 2 players to a fanfare of trumpets and they don't play in the cup final when they could have made a difference? Did you play Malik Tillman even though he was not 100% fit, and in the estimation of you guys at Hampden did not look 100% fit? There are many questions that will be asked of the manager. I think that's the agenda for our programme starting tomorrow night, because everyone in the Rangers camp had such high hopes for this game. This game was supposed to be the watershed moment, the moment when you could truthfully say, I think there could be a shift of power under Michael Beale. But Ange Postecoglou goes away, having believed in his players, having brought on his 5 subs, having made what looked like gambos rather than substitutions, and he goes away with the trophy, and his domination of Scottish football is underlined. So it's been a great day for Celtic. It has been a day of questions that now demand answers for Rangers and their supporters.
Yeah, absolutely, Gordon Dalziel. How would you sum up what you witnessed then as a football match, and I guess the bigger picture as well?
It wasn't the greatest game I've ever watched, Gordon, but cup finals are not about great games. They're all about getting your hand in silverware, and Celtic, they're just serial winners who know how to do that. All credit to Rangers coming back into the game, making that bit exciting, but once again Celtic just showed that they are a gap there. Michael Beale will admit that. He's already said that it's back to work tomorrow again, you know, to keep improving. But Ange Postecoglou, this team of his, they just keep rolling on, winning trophies, winning games, and they're a terrific watch.
Yeah, have to agree with that. It's been a terrific afternoon for Ange Postecoglou. Not their sparkling best, but once again gets the job done. A lot of work for Michael Beale to do to catch this Celtic side.
Well, what an afternoon it was at Hampden. Thank you for joining us. Alfredo Morelos' goal made it interesting, but a double from Kyogo helped Celtic get their hands on a 7th League Cup in the last 9 seasons. Ange Postecoglou's domestic dominance continues. How long will it continue for? Only time will tell. Thank you to Mark and Gordon here. Thank you to Jim and Hugh and Andrew back in the studio. And thank you for listening, for your calls and your tweets. It'll be a good old week talking our way through that one. Make sure you join us from 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Super Scoreboard with Call Robert Accident Repair. Why call your insurance? Let Robert take away the hassle. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast with Lookers Volvo. Buy your next car or book your MOT, service or repair online.